Hello, everyone. Hello. How's everyone doing? Howdy. Long time no see. Oh man, this is going to be a fun live stream. I'm excited for this. For those who don't know what to expect here, your boy's been working. I signed up for every free trial, every demo, every thing that I could when it comes to writing focused software so that we can finally understand first what's worth buying. Is it worth your money? At least according to what we can access in these early free trial demo things. Where does it fit in the landscape of all the writing software? And ideally, if you hang out through this video, you find out about some new writing software and maybe something that even fits in your workflow perfectly. That's the dream. That's the dream. Hello, JSam. Hello, Zerg. V for Vindication. Hello. We got, was that Dev? Is that Dora? Hello, Zinder. How's everyone doing? Let me know about the audio levels too. You know, towards the end of November, we were having some issues with audio, with microphones shorting out, things like that. I got a new laptop. We're using a new streaming software. So hopefully it all works. Wolfie, hello, Wolfie. You know, Wolfie was there for the very first live streams we ever did. I don't know if Wolfie, maybe you remember this. I feel like Wolfie, I feel like we pulled up some of your writing on stream and did like a little editing feedback thing. Is that right? Let me know. V says, sounds good. Love it. Love it. It's good days, good days. All right, so let me walk you through the plan here real fast. All right. Let me make sure I got all my stuff squared away here. There it is. Oh, hello. You know I love me a good tier list. There's something special about a good tier list. Also, we're going to be cutting up this video. In fact, let me go ahead and make sure I got all my stuff going. I'm going to be cutting up this video into its own standalone YouTube video for people who couldn't make this, and we can just chop it up and post it on the channel at a later time. So, don't say anything I got to blur out, you hooligans. Promise me. Yeah, Zinder, hello. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. You know I love me a good tier list. The game plan today is to look at all of the major writing software that I could think of just off the top of my head and figure out how does it fit in the landscape of available writing software. What's the best bang for your buck? What might not be worth your time according to just what, you know, my own opinion, what I see and everything. And then what are the goats of writing software? That's what we're looking for here. To show you sort of what's on the dockets, we got a couple things here. We have Plotter. For those who don't know about Plotter, this is dedicated software to help you plan your novel. I have it installed here. If you haven't seen it before, I think you will like it. If you have seen it before, then you already know Plotter's kind of cool. For almost all of these, if I was able to get free trial, demo, whatever the case may be, some of these things can be totally free, some of them can't. I tried to set up some kind of project in there so that when we got to talk about it, I have a little bit more experience with it than just you watching me mindlessly click around and figure out things. But you're still getting early impressions. After Plotter, we have Notion. Notion's going to be a fun one. We have Obsidian. We have Campfire Writing, which has a very interesting very interesting pricing setup I've never seen before. We have the GOAT Scrivener. You know, that's what I use. We have a tool called Novelist. that if you've never seen Novelist, I think you'll be surprised at what you can get for totally free. We have NovelPad. We have Reedsy Studio. I know we have a couple people in our community that write with the Reedsy Studio tool. And then here, I gotta say, being a YouTuber who does content on writing, I get inundated with emails from new writing tools that are really just a shell over a ChatGPT prompt, basically. And that's what I've seen with a lot of up and coming kind of AI focused writing tools. Sudowrite is probably the biggest of the bunch, the most established and most popular of the bunch. So we will look at Sudowrite and its AI focused writing tools, see how that fits. Is it good, bad? How do we feel? We have the classic Google Docs, which is when we're going to talk about the strengths and or the shortcomings of using Google Docs to write. We have Pro Writing Aid coming at you with less of a conflict of interest than before. I have finished my contract that I did with Pro Writing Aid. So when we talk about Pro Writing Aid, it's just coming from someone who uses it in their own writing workflow. So trying to eliminate what bias I can. We have two very interesting tools here, Vellum and Atticus. Let me know if anyone here has used any of these tools before, Vellum and Atticus. Both of these tools are predominantly marketed to helping you take a finished manuscript, making it look nice, and then exporting it out to whatever platform you're actually going to share your writing on, whether that is uploading it to Amazon or Kobo or any of the other platforms to publish your work. That's their primary focus. Wolfie says, I have some things to say about Reedsy. Wolfie, me and you both. We have Publisher Rocket. I always sometimes flip the name on accident. Maybe it's Rocket Publisher. I think it's Publisher Rocket, which is a tool designed to help you understand how to position your book on Amazon so that readers can find it. You can make informed decisions about how to maximize your visibility and sales on the platform. Lastly, we have Hemingway, which is an editing tool similar to, I guess, any of the other editing tools. Maybe not as fully featured as Pro Writing Aid or Grammarly. And then lastly, for fun, we have the fantasy map making software Inkarnate. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, Danish Pastry, hello, so glad to see you here. I want you all to know I purposely tried to make this live stream way earlier in the day because I felt bad that we weren't able to do too many November November live streams for all of our friends over in the EU. So that stinks. I'm sorry that happened. I'm trying to make it up to you. I'm trying. Now, I tried to organize these into a sort of workflow here. So as we're going over these tools, we have a lot of tools that are mostly designed for planning your novel. We have tools mostly designed for writing your novel. We have tools mostly designed for editing / marketing your novel. And then lastly, we just have Inkarnate being in its own little category. If you've never seen Inkarnate, I think you will. I think you'll really like it. All right, so I expect this is going to take a good amount of time, so I'm not going to play around too much. Why don't we start with our very first... Oh, actually, hold on. There is one last thing here. In our tier list, you'll notice the categories. We have S+, S, A, B, C, and D. I did this for a reason. There is only allowed to be one S+ writing tool. Only allowed to be one. The S+ writing tool is, of all of these, if there is a tool that I feel that every single writer, no matter if you're a planner or pantser, no matter if you're a beginner or expert, it is a writing tool that every single person should include in their workflow. An S-tier writing tool is just a fully featured, best value, bang for your buck kind of writing tool. An A writing tool is going to be something that is useful for some, maybe useful for most, but has certain shortcomings. Maybe it's too expensive for what it provides. Maybe there's something else. B is when we start to get into the category of this is a take it or leave it kind of thing. If you just want to use this tool, go for it. C tier writing tool is going to be a writing tool that just is kind of missing the mark. And a D tier writing tool, I will go ahead and say, is probably something you should just avoid. There's other tools that do it better for less money, and there's no real reason to choose it over something else. Sapphire jumps into the live stream. Sapphire is everywhere. Paul, hello, Paul. Happy to see you here. All right, we got a lot of tools to go over. Let's start strong by opening up Plottr. Now, Plottr, I think it's only fair that for all of these tools, we also go in here and open up their website so we can see what we're getting into here. Plottr is purely focused on helping you plan your book or your series. That's it. It is not a tool for writing. It is only a tool for planning. If we hop over into the pricing page, you can get the standalone tool, which is an app that you install on your computer. It's not a cloud-based URL that you go to. It is an application starting at either $60 a year, so $5 a month, or $150 for lifetime access. For those who, if you want to kind of put that into perspective, Scrivener is the writing tool I use the most. Scrivener's lifetime access is a one-time payment of $60, and you have it forever. Just to kind of paint the landscape. Now, to be fair, Pro Writing Gate's lifetime membership is hundreds of dollars as well. We'll pull that up when we get to their pricing page. But Plottr has multiple tiers. We have the normal, just the app, which you're about to see. There's Plottr Pro, which gives you a browser-based platform so you can access it on multiple different devices. And then the Plottr Pro Plus Community tongue twister that we'll see why that's pretty cool. These get expensive. The Plottr Pro Plus Community, I dare you to try to say that 3 times fast, is almost $700 for lifetime access, or you're paying $130 a year. If you take out the community aspect, you're paying $100 a year, $600 lifetime, just so you understand. We keep that in mind. These are all in US dollars, by the way. We keep that in mind because, to be honest, this is important. It's important. You have limited money. I have limited money. You don't want to spend on something that's not going to be worth it. So it's important to look at these kind of things. So let's open up Plottr. And we'll launch it here. I had fun playing around with Plottr and setting stuff up to show you guys. So I think you will like it. 600 USD, multiply that by 5. That's what I'm saying is, I don't know if they have different globalization, localization for pricing. You'll have to check that out yourself, but that's something to keep in mind. So when you open up Plottr, it takes you to your project management screen, and then you can open up an actual project from here. It opens up a new window. It loads all your stuff up. All right. So I'll give you the TLDR. What is the value of Plottr? The value of Plottr is to break up the planning part of your novel into a separate application from what you write in, where you can use dedicated tools to plan your story. Now, I went in here. I have an urban fantasy series that's 5 books that I have been working on for the past couple years. I went in here and I uploaded all of these books into Plottr. This is just like the titles and everything. And then I went through and tried to figure out how would I use these tools for planning. Now, I am not an expert, and for most of these tools, I won't be an expert. But this is what it's like as a new user. Even in Scrivener, I'm still learning new things, and I've been using that pretty much every week for 6 years. So that just kind of happens. So with Plottr, You open up one of your books, or you can open up your entire series and you, say it with me, plot it out. That's it. You plot your story out. Now you can do this in a couple different ways. And here we have kind of like a beat sheet. When you are uploading a book to do this with, you can start with a template, and there's all kinds of different templates that import plot lines, specific beats. We'll look at where all this information shows up. And of everything, I think that these templates are the most useful thing about Plottr. Now, if you don't like planning, terrible news. You're probably not going to like Plottr. But if you like tinkering and writing things down and kind of dreaming about how your story is supposed to be shaped, Plottr gives you a lot of options here. You can import templates that the community makes into Plottr and use that as a shortcut to start planning your novel. But in order to do that, I believe you have to have the Plottr Pro Plus community package, which is that lifetime $650 access. I think $130 a year it might be. So that's something that may be behind a paywall. So when you upload a template here, it takes all of this information. We got plot lines and we got scene cards. And I did that with each one of these books and just automatically appends that here. We can see that in scene 1 of whatever story I'm about to write, we have stage 1 setup. If I double click here, this template has also given me information to say, here's what needs to happen in the scene. All of that came from the template that we selected. And then this is where I would write in whatever should happen in this first scene of my book. While what you're seeing here is like a dedicated text editor, it's not really for you to write your whole story in. I guess maybe you could, but that's not really the purpose, I think, of Plottr. Within each scene, you can go through here and you can add in things like characters if you've already planned them out. Later on, you can filter things down to say, show me all of the scenes that I'm planning on having where these two characters are in them together or that take place in this certain location. Just like in other writing tools, we have places for creating characters, uploading images, separating them out by main characters or side characters. We can also do that for locations, and we even have custom tags for whatever additional things that you need. When you plan out your timeline, you can move all these things around after the fact. You can add new plot framework stuff just by clicking in here and bringing in a template. And then maybe the best part of all of this, in my opinion, is if you're choosing to not use one of these big templates, you can still go in here and say, all right, I'm adding a plot line. This is going to be my major series moments. And I can either just add something completely blank, opening image, or I could add, and if I click on that, you'll see everything in here is blank for me to fill out. Or I can add in something from another template, and we have a whole different set of templates. And I like this because every single option in here is sort of a checklist that you could add for every scene in your book. For example, it's probably not a bad idea to go into writing a scene knowing what the goal of this character is going to be, what their motivation is, and what conflict they're going to face. If you can do that with every single scene, you have a pretty cohesive story. We have other things down here like the story genius, which says what's the alpha point? I don't know what that is. The subplot, the plot, the third rail. I don't know what that is. And so I don't know anything about the story genius. I think I actually have that book back here. No, I do not. But this is kind of a cool way to go about planning your story. That's kind of all it is. So I can click OK here. Let's call this a crisis moment. I don't know. And then if I open this up in our 3-story scene that we just added to this, I can ask these questions to myself and answer them. This is Plottr. If you like planning your stories and you want to do this at length, I think Plottr can be a pretty nice tool to use. Now, the question is, what do you do after this? What do you do after you're not supposed to write in Plotter, so what do you do after you're done with all of this planning? Well, I am so glad you asked that, because hiding right behind me, yoink, let me just pull myself right down here, is an export option that exports into Microsoft Word, into Scrivener, and then has some advanced options as well. So for those in here who are saying, hey, I think Scrivener has very similar things like characters and places and a timeline, you are correct. And we're actually going to see that throughout all kinds of different writing tools. This is just a very common way to approach story. But specifically with Plotter, one of the benefits of having that overlap is that you can export everything that you've done into here and pop it into Scrivener as a new project. All the character planning stuff you've done, all the timeline, the scenes, they all go over into a Scrivener project for you to then open up and actually begin writing. So if you click on this, you get a whole pop-up here. I don't think you can see it on here, but it's prompting me to create a Scrivener project with these details. I'm going to put myself back in my corner. And that is Plotter. We can't spend too long on all of these. If this kind of feels interesting to you, by the way, there's also some different views here. I like this checklist one. If this feels interesting to you, I think Plotter is kind of unique, and it's one of the very few purely dedicated story planning bits of software. But it does have some of its own shortcomings, which brings us to our first tier list. Dedicated software, Mina says, dedicated software for plotting is a bit extreme. So, Mina, I agree with you in the sense of it does feel a bit extreme, but I also feel like it's worth saying there can be something to be said for separating out things, in the sense of, if I am trying to plan my story in the same software that I write my story in, things might get a little blurry. Maybe it's going to be harder to organize. Maybe there's downsides to maybe jumping into writing too early when you're not fully prepared, if that's the way that you like to write. I think it is worth that. But that's totally fair to say maybe this is too much for some writers. Maybe it's perfect for other writers. So Plotter, I think, is a good tool, but I look at something like $130 a year for it. I look at the $650 price point for the top tier, to be fair, for the top tier. I think it was like $150 for owning this application on your computer lifetime. I feel like that's not terrible. It could be cheaper. I guess it could be more expensive. I think Plotter is either high B, low A. For right now, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's low A. It does what it sets out to do. There's maybe questions about how necessary it is. I think it's valuable for some writers and maybe not so valuable for other writers. But otherwise, it's a perfectly fine tool for some people. As we continue rating things, this might be brought down to B, just as we get a better understanding of what these categories mean. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree with that. And tell me how you feel about Plotter. Zerg says, it's neat, but I wouldn't be able to pay that much for something I can do with pen and paper. Zerg, I think you're on an interesting thought there, but also kind of a dangerous thought. You know, sometimes I'll do a video on YouTube and it'll be something like, hey, check out this cool piece of software that I did or that I discovered. And someone will be like, I don't need anything at all to tell a story, and using any tool to facilitate the telling of stories is superfluous. I don't know about that. If that's the case, yeah, go to pen and paper, write it in Notepad for all I care. But I do think it is worth, once you are invested in writing, I think it's totally okay to spend some money on tools that you will use. That's my opinion. All right, we got some some controversy in the placement. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let's keep going and let's see what these other tiers are meant for. So hopping over into our Google Docs, we have our next tool, which is Notion. Do we have anyone here who uses Notion? Because Notion, pretty cool. So a lot of people might use Notion for work. It's a very popular enterprise level software, especially in places like the tech industry. It integrates very nicely with a bunch of other tools, but that's not always the most relevant thing for us as writers. So what does Notion do? And also, how much is Notion? Let me see if I can pull up another tab here. Notion pricing. Here we go. For just personal use, Notion is free. That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. Hard to beat free. Notion is free. I'll show you what you can do with it, what it can kind of look like. I think that this is an underutilized type of software for writers. I've tried to figure out what's like, there's got to be some product management, project management type tool that writers can really benefit from. Notion might be it, and I'll point out why. I've used Notion in many different jobs, as well as similar other kind of softwares like Confluence. And then there's all kinds of different project management software similar to this. But I think Notion is probably the most popular. So at its core, Notion is here for you to create different pages of different contents in different styles. That's probably one of the easiest ways I can put it together. So for example, let's say you wanted to use this as a wiki for your novel that you're working on. All your world building, all of your tools that you want to, all the information you want to have in one place. We can go in here. I can click add new. Let's create, there's all these templates here. Not everything in here is really designed for writing. So we'll make something new. We'll call this a new world building page. Within this page, oh dang. Within this page, we can add more pages and say we have our cultures, we have geography, we have religion and magic. I can add these in here. Religion, magic, and I could go in further within these tools and continue to get some information down. So like, how does the magic system work? Let's say we're talking. Hello. Whoa! I made a snowman on accident. You know what? I like it. We'll call this water bending. So we can go in here. This is it's worth saying this is a fully rich text editor. There's a lot of stuff you can have going on in here besides just like, plain text. Dora says, oh, this is like Evernote. It's like Evernote. It's like Confluence. It's like OneNote. It's any of those tools where you can kind of just put everything in one place. I can go in here and do some heading. So I can say water bending, strengths. I can make another heading here that's going to be water bending weaknesses. Then I can do another heading for famous waterbenders. And then within there, I can start doing subheadings like Katara, I think was that Katara's name? Who was another famous waterbender? I guess we got to go Aang. And all of this information can be filled out. Katara is from the Water Tribe, the Northern. Oh, God, I should have picked something that didn't have such a rabid fan base. I may get details wrong here. Northern Water Tribe. And is one of the youngest water benders in the village. So I could type information here. More so than anything else, I can go in here and use some of their other kind of more advanced tools. If you hit slash, you get a lot more that you can do with it. I knew I shouldn't have picked Avatar. That's a rookie mistake. In here, you're going to find all of your, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. God. No one tell Hello Future Me what I just did. We have a lot of things in here. We have things like formatting for quotes. We have adding tables, little dividers. You can link back to other pages as you reference and grow your wiki. They have some Notion AI stuff that's paid. You won't get that on the free tier. You can upload images, videos, audio, files, URL pages, web pages. And then there's also, I don't know if you'll end up using this, there are even more advanced tools that you can explore when it comes to things like automation and database kind of stuff. It can get kind of crazy. Now, I still want to point out one other thing here. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to create a new page. This is what I think people could benefit more from. I think more writers. Oh, hold on. I forgot. People are going to be mad. Let's go down here. She's from the Southern Watern tribe. Southern. Jeez. All right. This is what I think people could benefit from most from Notion, right? I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say this is my book timeline. How about book project timeline? There's more than one type of view in here. See if I can get my Kanban in here. Those who are in any sort of industry like product or project management, if you work in tech, if you're working through sprints, you can use what's called a Kanban board, I believe is maybe the term here. But in this case for us, what it might mean is I can go in here and I can create, I always forget how to change the statuses here. But basically I can say, I'm working on chapter 3 and in chapter 3, here's all the things that need to happen. Here's are my characters, yada, yada, yada. Bring it back here. And as you go through and you're working on your project here, maybe I haven't started chapter 3 or chapter 4 or chapter 5, but I can move this over when I'm ready to start chapter 3. Now, you might be saying, why would I care about that? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, and by the way, there's definitely people who might even be in this chat that are going to be way more knowledgeable in Notion than I am. But number one, you can see the progress of your novel very easily. That's kind of cool. Number two, with automation tools, if you were working collaboratively, either with another writer or maybe more realistically with a group of friends who are serving as your beta readers, or you wanted to bring other people in on your work to get feedback, the great part about this is you can link them to this page, and as soon as chapter 3 is done, it can be moved into, instead of done, maybe this is beta reader feedback. And as soon as chapter 3 goes into this Kanban group, you can set up automation, create and view automations. Looks like you got to upgrade for it. That then sends an email off to your beta reader saying a new chapter is available. They can click the link, come in here, read everything that they need to read, give their feedback through comments. They can even highlight things and actually leave comments. This is a good start. And you have all this information at your fingertips. When they're done, they can move it over into the next group, and that could trigger even more automation. That's what Notion is and what I feel like it's most powerful for. It does a lot more. I highly recommend you explore it on your own time. Because it's free for personal use, I recommend you give it a shot. When it comes to things like creating a single source of truth for your book, I think that Notion's broad enough that it kind of can cover just about every use case. You could be uploading files. You could be writing directly in here. While it's not maybe a dedicated long-form writing tool, it could be something useful in your workflow. That is Notion. There's a lot more we could talk about, but I think that would just take too long. So I think I'm ready to grade Notion. Danish Pacer says Notion looks like my next best friend. Notion's pretty awesome. I think Notion, if they had a more limited free tier, if you look at the pricing page, there's going to be some caveats there. You're allowed X amount of, I imagine, storage. So like uploading a bunch of files may be more limited. But when it comes to writing, we're not really dealing with a ton of data. So I don't think that matters. We're not, at least the predominant voicing seems to be, we're not looking for the AI tools, which in Notion is mostly just for like improving the writing a little bit. I think Notion as a planning tool is solidly S tier. Wolfie says, move Plotter down to B and Notion to A. Zinder says, wait, doesn't Scrivener also have Notion's tabbed notes feature? But Notion is free, so there's that. We'll see. We'll be looking at Scrivener today as well. I'm not going to move Plotter down to B yet, but I think Notion is a solid S tier tool. I'm not yet committed to making it S+, but it's a solid S tier tool. Again, I might move some things around as we keep going. So then why don't we talk next about a similar app that is 100% free? Notion's pretty great. Who here has ever used Obsidian? Who here has ever used Obsidian? Obsidian is the what's the right word to use here? People who go all in on productivity love Obsidian. Let's open up some Obsidian here. Obsidian is 100% free, 100% open source. It is an absolute joy to use. Absolute joy to use. And it may have the most broad ecosystem of plugins and themes and modifications that you will find in any tool on the internet. And that's not me like making a bold statement here. If you go on YouTube, you can find people they call Obsidian their second brain, and every single thought that they have a place to put it in their Obsidian Vault project. And then they connect all the dots. So you can find these threads to say what ideas are connected to what other things. So Obsidian could even be your long form writing tool if you wanted. Here's how it works, right? So I've opened up Obsidian, and within Obsidian, I've created a bunch of files and folders. At its core, that's Obsidian. What makes Obsidian way better is, one, it's a very clean, very usable, user-friendly interface. It's all written in Markdown. So when you're going in here, you can do things like headings. We can do things like, let's see what else we got. I forget what the markup is for some of these other things. We can do things like comments, like I don't want this to come out of Obsidian when I export things. Maybe, if that's true, I'm not sure. And then every page also has some properties. Let's see if I can find where our properties are. Add file property. So this is where you can start to link things together. So you can go in and you can add tags. You can create custom tags. You can watch videos about people who are taking this to like the most insane like ceiling you could even imagine. So maybe I want to have, this is going to be, the series is called Fourth Ward. I'm going to create a tag here. I'm going to add a property. This is, let's create a new tag. This is going to be series is, I called it fourth tag. I called this one Fourth Ward. I'm going to create, here's this character arc. I'm going to, go through there. Similar concept to Notion, where the value of Obsidian is that you put everything in one place. Now, some things that I like specifically about it is I can say, let's go in here. Let's create a new folder for characters. And let me add a character here who is Charlotte Hanson. Charlotte is a teenager attending college university. Here's what I like about it. You can hop over into other tools. The main character is Charlotte Hanson. What you can do is you can reference content in other places in your notes. So I think the shortcut here would be Charlotte Hanson. I can type in this very specific markdown, and now anything that I put in Charlotte Hanson's file here, Charlotte's best friend is Maggie. Anytime I update that, boom, here it is. And now you have a way to separate out information into smaller bits, to jot information down, to have these single sources of truth. But maybe you want to have a master document for your character arcs where you can see everything that's in your characters, how their relationships are, things like that. It's just like so deep. It's so crazy. It's so awesome. Obsidian is, without a doubt, one of the best free pieces of software ever put on the internet. 100%. Let me show you why. Let's also clean some of this up. Let me show you some things. If we go to obsidian.md, this is their website. There's all kinds of extra things to Obsidian. And if I go over here, maybe where do I want to find the plugins? You have them down here, plugins. If I go over here into plugins, there's a million different things that you can add to your Obsidian specifically. For example, maybe I want some kind of timeline where I can plot out the timeline of my novel. I can go search for the timeline plugin and look at this. 70,000 downloads, 17,000 downloads. Okay, let me learn more. I'll click on this. It'll take me to a GitHub page. I can scroll down. I could, with one click of a button, start having these timelines in my own Obsidian file as I plan out my story. That's not part of the native tool, but because the ecosystem and community is so gung-ho about Obsidian, this is the kind of stuff you find. It's awesome. Maybe you wanted something, let's say you wanted to create a database, okay? Or maybe you wanted to work with PDF, okay? There's tools for you to play around with here. I wonder what they have for images. Turn handwritten or printed notes into Markdown using AI. I don't know what else is on here. I wonder what the most popular plugin is. That's what I want to see. It's got mods. Yes, it really does have mods. You guys know Campus University? You wanted to create tables. Here's a bunch of different people who are trying to improve the table experience in Obsidian. This one's got 2.5 million downloads. Let me go over here and see what those tables are like. Now, if you like doing tables in Microsoft Word, you can do them over here. That's really the power of Obsidian. It's pretty great. Because it's free, I recommend you give it a shot. If you liked the idea of Notion, I think Obsidian is even better. What about chairs? Come on. And I think because of that, I think it shifts the paradigm of our tier system. Knowing that we have tools that are freely available to us, that do some of the same things that these more expensive tools do, well, wouldn't it make sense that we would prioritize supporting those tools, making sure that they get the publicity and the word of mouth that they deserve. That's Obsidian right there. Notion, I think, is really good. I have a hard time finding things that Obsidian couldn't do. Obsidian can sync across devices. I'm sure there is a collaboration plugin somehow, some way for Obsidian. Maybe that is where that line is drawn. The question is there a mobile version of Obsidian? Let's do it. Let's find out. Obsidian. There's an iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux version. I've used Obsidian a good amount, but usually when I was using Obsidian, it was more for like, I'll give you an example. I've been working on a script for like 8 months on how authors can use color in their writing in a conscious and important way, like color theory in fiction. And I used Obsidian to gather all of my notes, references, links online, separate them out, do the first and second draft of that script, work on the final script. It was all in Obsidian. It was all very neatly organized. It was all really nice. There is a paid part of Obsidian, and that is if you want to do this syncing across devices, I think. So specifically, if you're looking for the ability to do this, I think this is one way you could choose to support Obsidian. But I also feel like I remember seeing in plugins that there were some syncing options here that were also free. I don't know how popular they are, but maybe there's something out there if you are looking for that. Check out Obsidian. And because of Obsidian, we have an updated tier ranking list. Obsidian being so widespread, being so popular, being completely free and open source, I will always prioritize that. It does almost everything Notion can do, and if it can't do what Notion can do, there might be a plugin to do it. So we're going to move these other two down. All right, what do we got next? Next one, we have a controversial tool. If you have never heard of Campfire Writing, let me tell you a very interesting way to go about making your product. Let's go hop over here into Campfire. Campfire Writing is both a planning and writing platform. It is here to try to help you create your story from start to end. In fact, Campfire even has, I believe, like a publishing platform or something like that. See if I can find it on here. Publish your work, yeah. So you can even take your book all the way to the end using Campfire. Campfire does something very strange. See if I can find the pricing page here. Book pricing, it's not really what I want. Software pricing, here we go. So how Campfire prices its tool. This is not a free tool. You can try it for free, but this is the this is the deal. Campfire wants to be a tool that is detailed enough for anyone to use it. And the way that they do that is they break up their product into modules. So for example, if you want to write your story in Campfire, then you will choose to purchase the manuscript module. If you want to be able to plan your characters, then you also pay for the characters module. I'll show you what all this looks like. But if you don't want to create timelines, if that's not important to you in your workflow and your process of planning, then you just choose to not pay for that module. Meaning, you could frame this as this is you creating your ideal writing software. You could look at it like that. You pay for each individual module. In this case, Zender says per month, I have it selected on the monthly subscription, annual, and lifetime. Now, what does this look like? We'll come back to this page. What does this look like? So if I click in here on my Fourth Ward book that I've started developing in here, you can see on the left side, and I'll be the first to say this. I think the user experience in Campfire is not very good. It's very busy. It's a lot of boxes, a lot of drop-down menus. I feel like I can't see all of my things in one glance. I have to continuously be like opening different things. Like, for example, I've uploaded a character in here. And so here's all these little boxes that I can use to plan my character. So I go in here. This is Hector. Hector is from the United States of America. Hector is a man. Okay. What's some of Hector's physical traits? This isn't really how I plan out my stories. This is the tough one. Hector is a young boy who is part of the Wardens. All right. Boom. That's good enough. That's good enough. If I wanted to start writing, I can click on manuscript and I can begin writing my chapters. So I can say, okay, we have chapter 1 here. Do I need to rename this? Chapter 1. I guess I could set this as a status. I guess. This is the first chapter. We're crushing it. Okay. Now let me double click on here and I can actually start writing. It was a dark and stormy. Well, hold on. He was a dark and stormy night. Love it. So now this is your writing tool. And you can go through, it's your normal text editor. You can add what are called cards. I'm not totally sure what some of these things do. I think this is maybe revealing some of my personal thoughts about Campfire. There's just a lot going on. Same thing. I got locations. I can upload maps. I can do research. I can create a timeline. I can add a calendar. I can plot out some character arcs. Let's add an event. Oh, create new element. Oh man. See, like I'm just so kind of lost in this tool. Some of them make a lot of sense. Maybe you want to have an encyclopedia. It says the encyclopedia is a strongly customizable place to store information about your project that doesn't fit perfectly into one of the other sections. You're telling me people are looking at these 30 modules and being like, but it's missing this one. Come on. This is crazy. It was a dark and stormy night off to his first day majoring in Campus College University. Man. I love it. Okay, let me click on here in Magic. Okay, here's a bunch of stuff about panels. Okay. Cost issue. Now, here's maybe the issue. Maybe this is part of my issue. Is this not just the same thing over and over with slightly different panels? I'm paying $2 more a month to use this Magic setup here, but it's just like, I mean, is that much different than what I'm seeing over here for characters where it's just more panels? You know what I'm saying? So, more than anything, first off, I have an issue with Campfire just because usability at least with all the modules is tough to learn, right? It's maybe too segmented. I have a whole category for systems and hierarchies, language, religions, philosophies, items, but they're all kind of the same thing. Here's an example. I uploaded this item that's in my story, the Memoriam Nubilum. You have to read the book, okay? But then if I go over here and look at Hector, this is like the exact same thing, but it cost me $2 more a month to be able to have a section for items. Is that crazy? I don't know. I think that in addition to the pricing here, does not make sense. If you use Campfire and it fits all your needs, I love that. I hope you are not paying monthly for that when there are other tools that will give you just as much customization for way less. Hector costs $2 a month to exist. Yeah. I get what they're saying. They're saying you can create the tool that works for you. But if I'm paying Campfire $45 for lifetime, which is cheap for lifetime compared to other lifetime tools, but I also want characters, locations, and what would be another good one? Encyclopedia. I'm already looking at 75. Let's see. We said locations, so now we're at like 90 something. Throw in something like items, and we're over $100, and I still don't even have the full tool. Break that down into monthly. I don't know. I know the Campfire supporter, the people behind Campfire are going to tell me, well, people aren't getting every single module. They're only choosing the modules they need. And I'm like, look, I could get Scrivener, which I consider to be one of the best writing tools, for $60 lifetime. By getting manuscript and characters for Campfire, I am already paying more for 90% less. That's my issue with Campfire, and that is why I think Campfire gets a D. The lowest grade on here, I don't want to say it's a scam. It's definitely not a scam. But for value, for bang for your buck, you are just not getting what you need, I think. I think that there are much less developed, much less popular tools that are going to be way cheaper and give you way more. All right. Let's take a little break here. How's everyone feeling? How are we feeling about the tools so far? Anything that you've seen that you want to start using or not? This is probably why we never heard of it. Well, here's the crazy thing is Campfire got popular enough that they were paying for marketing on YouTube back before I was on YouTube. So I heard of Campfire because they partnered with some of the biggest writing creators at the time. You know, so that was Daniel Green. That was, I can't remember if Abby Emmons did that or not. That Hello Future Me had done it as well. Like the big names in writing YouTube, Campfire was sponsoring them. Danish Pastry, I'm just here to vibe. I agree, but what would you say about Campfire if the pricing wasn't whack? Where would you rank it? V, that's a great question. Disregarding the pricing, which I think is a big part of the conversation, but disregarding the pricing of Campfire, if you were to say, here's this tool, I still don't think it would be free. Let's say it's flat $10 a month. I would say that there's still other writing tools that are better for that same price or cheaper. Dora says, I used Campfire for a long time. Interesting. And now part of that comes from me feeling like the usability of the tool is not the greatest. Maybe if I had like a 35-inch monitor, so each one of those panels could actually be useful. On my tiny 14-inch laptop screen, I can barely read anything, dude. All right. So in our Google Docs here, this was all what I called our planning tools. Right? They were mostly designed for planning. Campfire also designed for writing, but that is our transition into writing tools. So from this point out, the focus is not on sitting around and planning your characters, your character arcs, your locations. From this point on, all of the tools that we will look at in this next section are about actually writing your book. In my opinion, Also, it would be hilarious if someone was to calculate if you wanted. Hold on. Let me do a little thing here. If you wanted the full campfire tool, I would love for someone to calculate these numbers and tell me how expensive campfire would be if you just wanted to own the tool. That's what I want to know. Man, that's crazy. Let's get someone on that. All right. So let's go into the one that I'm most familiar with, the one that you've heard me talk about all the time. You've seen it time and time again. We won't spend too long on it. Let's talk about Scrivener. And I'm going to focus not only on what I would consider to be maybe the good parts of Scrivener, but also the bad parts. Mina says, at this point, I'm considering just moving to Google Docs. Campfire's templates are way too detailed. Zerg. Zerg, you can go to the Campfire website yourself. Come on. All right. So what you're seeing here, if you haven't seen it before, this is Scrivener. I feel like this is probably the most well-known writing tool outside of some of these more general purpose things like Microsoft Word, Google Docs. Once you get into long form writing, once you get into like a creative writing specifically, Scrivener is like the darling, right? It's like the writing tool you're going to hear most people talk about outside of Google Docs and Microsoft Word. So, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. When we're talking about Scrivener, at its core, we're talking about folder and file management. Clicking through, you can do all your writing in here. It's a very standard text editor. And then you have folders for planning things. Vive says $420 for my calculation for full-time Campfire access. Honestly, I expected more. Scrivener is all about, here's some folders for planning things, here's some folders for writing things. You can plan your story in here however you want. It's kind of like a sandbox. You can write in here, especially using things like distraction-free writing modes, which are awesome. I love writing in something that gets away from all of the other clutter. I do all of my writing in Scrivener. But it does a little bit more than that. With Scrivener, you can also compile. This is where you take your story and you format it a certain way, either for exporting out into Google Docs. Maybe you want to share it with someone and get some feedback. You export it into PDF to send off to the printer for your final version. You can do all the formatting you need to have a high quality final book. That's exactly what I did. I am working on a video right now for compiling in Scrivener, so you will get all the details soon if you've always wanted to do that yourself. Now, Scrivener is a great writing tool, but it doesn't do everything. Zender says, that's Starlight Farms. This is the final draft for Starlight Farms right here. In fact, I think I'm on revision mode here. There we go. What does Scrivener fail at? I think Scrivener fails at 2 or 3 main things. Number 1, Scrivener does not easily support writing on multiple devices. Now, I say that, but there's a current caveat. Bandit Trashes, my current tool for writing is an AlphaSmart Neo 2. Yeah, then you'll have to break out your 2002 USB Type B to plug into your computer to get your text dock off there. Boom, roasted. Roasted because I have an AlphaSmart Neo and I know exactly how difficult that is. Get wrecked. Scrivener does not have a great tool to write in multiple devices and get it all together. I say that, but they have in the past maybe year, I'm not exactly sure when they did this, You can now write on the iOS app version, I believe, and then sync it back to your Scrivener. I think you can now do some more limited cross-platform kind of syncing. It's not as full-featured as anything else, though. Number 2, Scrivener fails at collaboration. As of right now, there is no good way to have a Scrivener project here and to get something like comments or feedback from another person elsewhere on your project. The dream would be, I wrote my Scrivener project. I'm going to send you a link. You can view it and read it and comment on it, and I'll have everything on my computer as I tackle my next draft. Beta readers, developmental editors, sharing with friends, all that good stuff. It does not support that, as far as I can tell. You can make your own comments. You can say, hey, let me go in here and insert a comment and say this dialogue was stilted. Boom, I have a comment. But those are just yourself. You can't collaborate. Mum for ebook. Also, Dayswaller, hello. Requires Dropbox. Absolutely will work cross-platform. Not natively. That's the thing. Not natively. You could say, I'm going to back up my Scrivener folder into Google Docs, and I'm going to have another computer that opens that project up and makes changes, and I'll put the back into Google Docs. That's not the same kind of support that we're looking for from writing tools. Scrivener is not natively doing enough in that space currently. Number 3, Scrivener has very limited editing tools itself, which is why you hear me talk so much about Pro Writing Aid working so well with Scrivener. We're going to look at some other writing tools. They have more robust editing tools built in to identify grammar, spelling, style improvements. Scrivener doesn't have that, which is why having another tool to do it is so useful. So, with all that being said, if I had to say, like, and I try to do this when I'm talking about Scrivener is amazing, but Scrivener is the best writing tool except for these things. And for some people, especially things like the collaboration side of things, that might be a deal breaker. And I totally get that. If you're writing right now on Google Docs and you have friends that you like to share your writing with, and they come in here and they give you feedback saying this dialogue was amazing, or this plot twist I saw coming a mile away, and this is part of your writing process to improve your craft, Scrivener at the current time doesn't support this in a great way. So it's not perfect. It's not perfect. So what does that mean for our tier list? What does that mean for our tier list? What it means is, I would say Scrivener is an S tier writing tool. But I'm willing to concede that some features that it does not natively support right now are so important that maybe it goes down to A. And that's the second most controversial thing that will happen in this video. The second most. Because once we get right over here, this little section around here, I'm going to be telling you a story, and we're going to leave this live stream with an enemy. Oh, geez. Maybe that was a little harsh. For me, I think Scrivener is an S+ tool. It is my tool I use to write. It satisfies every need that I have. And the fact that it compiles into a final result and has so many tools to do so means I probably won't ever really go in for another tool to do these things. But the fact that it lacks editing tools, the fact that it lacks this collaboration, the fact that a lot of people like to write on more than one device, and the fact that maybe number 4, more importantly than anything, if you are not tech savvy, if you are not used to picking up new software and learning how to use it, Scrivener does not have the greatest onboarding or user interface. How many people, and maybe you don't come across this, I come across this all the time, with how many people say, I tried Scrivener and it was just too complicated. I see that all the time. I want to say S plus. Maybe towards the end we might make some changes. I could very easily put this into S tier. For me, it's S plus, but I recognize that collaboration for some people, bar none, that's a deal breaker that Scrivener doesn't have it. Mia says the best feature is the name generator. Hey, there you go. I've thought about expanding my name generator, uploading some CSVs of names. That would be really good and really fun. Maybe I'll do a video on that in the future. I'm going to keep this at A, but I will revisit this at the end because it would be a disservice for Scrivener if I left it there. But you know what? We may find some other tools that are more deserving. So we'll see. Because here's the thing. Scrivener was so influential. Scrivener was so influential in being like a piece of writing software. It's been around a long time. This is probably the most copied set of features for writing tools. Like, so many tools came out later that were like, we're basically just copying what Scrivener does. I, of course, want to put this higher. But the reason why I want to put this higher is not because it's just a good writing tool. The reason why I want to put this higher is because it is $60 for a lifetime. They don't even offer, I don't think, a subscription model. And they have a demo thing down here. Their 30-day free trial is so incredibly generous. That is the kind of thing I want to support for writing tools. I'm looking for more tools to do that. I will buy them. I will support them. I might not even use them. I just want to support them. If I see more of this in the world, I will be very happy. Dora says, I'm mad at you. Hey, stick it out. Stick it out. This is not the final ranking. I'm trying to not let my bias get in the way of the fact that there are major features Scrivener doesn't have. Because I needed editing tools to try to improve my writing so I could publish something, what I had to do was to find an editing tool that worked in Scrivener, which meant that $60 that I paid for Scrivener, in order for me to get the fully featured writing tool that I actually wanted, I had to pay $60 for Scrivener and then like $400 for Pro Writing Aid. How many other writing tools are we going to come across that are fully featured as Scrivener but have better editing tools? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. You may hate me now, but we'll just see where it goes. I might move this up to S. I might not. Let me tell you about something else. Maybe you look at the $60 price tag for Scrivener and you say, I'm sorry, like I just can't afford that. I'm using Google Docs because it's free. It's right there. I can't afford throwing money at all this other software to find something that works for me. What if I told you there was another completely free writing tool that might solve almost all your problems? I stumbled across this writing tool in doing some research, and I was stunned at how good it was and how free it was. You probably don't even recognize this little logo. Look at this little guy down here. This is Novelist. There he is. This is Novelist. I found Novelist on the App Store first. And then I came over here and I found it on desktop. And I was shocked. Here's why. I'm going to open this up on web, but it has a free iOS app. I imagine it has a free Android app. It allows things like multiple projects. It allows writing your entire book in here. And it allows syncing between different devices. So you can write on your phone, hop over onto the computer, sync it, and continue writing. And I think that's pretty sick. Here, let me full screen this bad boy. Novelist, run on web here, is a cloud-based tool. I say cloud-based. Whenever I say cloud-based, I just mean that it's a browser-based tool. I should probably say that instead. Where you have a section here to plot out characters. Here's my main character, Charlotte Hanson. Main character, a little synopsis, tag, they're part of the Wardens. Here's some text about them. If I wanted to add anything else, hey, look at all this. And guess what? Campfire, I don't even have to pay for this. Not $2 a month, not $40. Sorry. I'll pull back some. Sorry. I could add a picture. I could add some relationships. I could just add text and write some stuff. I can do that for any one of my characters, however I like to plan them. I can do this for locations. Again, using whatever tools I want to use to plan them out. I can make some props, anything extra that I want. This is all the planning section, the plotting section of Novelist. Totally free tool. Haven't paid anything, signed in. All my stuff that I've made on my phone was in here for me to reference. Then I go to the writing tab, and now I get to make specific scenes. I can click on here. Here's my scene. I can add this like subplot if I really wanted to. I can click on here to do the text, and I can just start writing. Wow, look at me go. I'm writing an entire story online with a free tool that didn't cost me $60. Keeps track of my words. Who knows what else is going to give me? I can open up a reference panel, say, give me my information about Charlotte Hanson. Oh, yeah, I forgot she has this little scar on her nose. Charlotte has a scar on her nose. Oh, so glad I had that little reference panel. Nice. Oh, shoot, I made a mess up. Let me restore back. I'm just clicking on buttons now. If you wanted to, you could go through and write your whole story like this. I think that this system of presenting the story is not my favorite. Like these panels and then seeing information over here. Like, I don't know if I love that. I could ignore this panel over here completely and just be clicking on the text here. Or I could say, okay, here's, I made something. Let me split this, make a duplicate, change some information. I don't know why you would do that, but you could. Man, this is a pretty cool tool. Let's go over to organize. You know what? Let me go in here and let's say we're going to add a Act 1. Here's everything that needs to happen. Save it. Add a subsection. I can set my existing scenes that I wrote. Put them right here. Everything's organized. I think, move them around even. Add a new scene from here. Add a subsection. Now I'm organizing based on beat sheets. This is the opening image from Save the Cat. Boom, put that in there. Maybe I want to clear this one out and add it to my opening image. Set existing scenes. Boom, there it is. Okay, we've organized the story. Looks pretty good. Our last thing, I saw Margaret say, it even has a schedule feature. It does. If you click down here, you can set things like your goals and see your progress. So if I click on set goals, I can say I want to write 1,500 words by Monday. Click on it, save. I think that's what I do. I think that's right. Progress. Hey, look, we love a good bar graph. Oh, hey, look at this. I didn't even see this before. There's a preview option up here to preview what I imagine is your entire story. Puts everything in a table of contents and then organizes it all for you. Pretty nice. I never noticed that before. This is completely free. There's not even a pay or pricing page on their website. Has an iOS, Android, and web app that all sync together. Pretty great tool. Pretty great tool. I had never heard of this. Here you can say, here, let me move my big head here. Whenever you open your project page, this is where you can either say, receive the most updated version of my stories from the cloud, go back. It looks like you can even upload a sample book here if you want to understand how to use all the different aspects of the tool. And then I always like poking around in settings. Ah, that's better. Okay. I bet you love that. Flashbang! I think when we're talking sheer bang for your buck, Novelist is pretty sick. As far as I can tell, JSam says, how's the spell check feature? As far as I can tell, it is only using like your normal system spell check, which is what Scrivener does. So it's still not really bringing to the table those spell checking, editing kind of features. It is very much about drafting. I don't think it has hardly any tools for revisions, editing, collaboration. But it is not an S tier product. It's not. It is what I think a great free product. It is not fully featured as everything else. I think if you are very budget conscious and you know you can't pay to afford any of these other tools, Novelist may be something worth checking out, especially if you like to write on your phone and you still want to do some writing on your computer. It will never be as good as something like Google Docs, but if you need that sort of segmentation for planning and then writing, Novelist is pretty good. I'm going to call this one a C tier. Don't put it higher than Scrivener. I wouldn't. I like Novelist. I think it's worth checking out. I want to support a free product. I just don't think it does enough unique to make it more useful than other tools, but I do love that it's free. I do really love that it's free. It still has a little bit of a ways to go. Dora, I would never put this higher than Scrivener. I saw in the chat someone saying, I've tried both NovelPad and Noveler, and I do like them both for what they are, although I personally prefer Scrivener. Jasmine. Also, hello, Jasmine. Speaking of, NovelPad is our next tool. Now, disclosure, I have partnered with NovelPad in the past, and I've spoken to their development team. I've been on calls with them as this is kind of cool. We started collaborating, and I wanted to find a cool thing I could bring to the writing theory community. And it happened to be they were also interested in creating a platform for hosting writing contests and writing challenges within NovelPad. And so we actually got connected through that. And then I was part of, at least talking about the needs for a user who wanted to help set up a writing challenge. And they put things together, and we ran a writing challenge through this. And that was purely designed from the ground up for that specific purpose. So the team's very nice. The tool, I think, is also very nice. So let me get logged in here. Let me switch over here to my full screen while I do that. I thought I was logged in already. All right, we in. All right, so this is NovelPad. I will say, before we get too far in, I've heard inklings, rumblings, rumors. In fact, I don't think it's necessarily a rumor. NovelPad version 2 is currently in beta, and it becomes a standalone application on your computer. And within that, there's also features for real-time collaboration with other people. I'll be very excited to see all the new features that come out with version 2. We are looking at version 1 right here. So, for the writing challenge we did back in the day, this was the short story I started writing. Pretty fun. So, what are we looking at here? This is pretty cool. So right now we're just in manuscript mode. I can see everything that I've written. I can scroll down. It's looking great. But the way that NovelPad really works is you hop over into these chapters and you add these scenes and you write to these chapters. And then it appends everything together. It puts all of what's in, your first chapter and your second chapter and your third chapter into one long manuscript. I believe you could write in here, though. Testing. Look at that. I think the user interface is really slick. I think it feels good to write in. I like the colors that they've chosen. I like this dark mode. It's got options for comments as well. For collaboration, you can share a link, I believe, that someone can click into NovelPad and be able to leave comments to. And I don't know if you all knew this. They use ProWritingAid for editing. So all of these pieces of editing feedback you're getting from their implementation of ProWritingAid. So all of this editing in here is pretty high quality. That's pretty awesome. And this doesn't require you to have a ProWritingAid account that you have to pay for to turn on for NovelPad. It's just part of NovelPad. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. On top of these chapters, you also have plot lines you can put in here and develop. See if I can main plot. Whoops. And you can add scenes, existing scenes. We'll throw in, I don't know, why would I throw in Act 3? Move that around. And you can organize your plots this way. This doesn't impact how your manuscript's put together. But if you wanted to do that, you can. You have a place to do your characters. You have a place to add your locations. You have insights for your writing. Oh, looks like it's not there. And then also, you have ways of tracking your words. I think this is a pretty full collection of features. Their scheduling tool here, I think, is pretty interesting too. With the way that their scheduling works, you can put in, here's how many words I want to write per week. Do we want to count just the manuscript? I guess you could change that. Here's your date range, but also I don't write on Sunday or Saturday. So in the goal that NovelPad's going to present to me as I'm writing, it knows I need to write more words on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday because I'm not writing on Sunday and Saturday. So it's not just saying write 1,500 words a day or whatever the case is. Kind of a neat feature. Maybe you have more time to write on Wednesday. It's going to adjust its recommended word goal. So if you're writing 1,500 words a week, maybe you're writing 250 words, 250 words, 250 words, 250 words. That's 1,000 words if you're keeping track at home. And then one day you have twice as much because you're writing more on Wednesday. Pretty neat feature. One of the other things I like about this is they have a notes section. And the notes section is just your general purpose, make something work. I've been able to go through here, use it like notes, but I've also been able to go in here and use it almost like a little Wikipedia page for my stories. So go in here and just use their features to link things and to create pages and do whatever you need to do. And hey, it all works. I think that's pretty cool. As you keep writing, you can go down here and you can download the novel. Put it in Word, EPUB, or Markdown. Uh-oh. I think I just clicked on something. What do you want to download? There you go. Let's go talk about their rating here, or their pricing, I mean. NovelPad is not free. Most of these tools aren't free, but NovelPad is not free. So if we click in here, pricing plans, you get a free trial. But then otherwise, we're talking about $10 a month. And that's it. There's not really any room for adjustment, I don't think. I do believe that with version 2, they told me the pricing model is going to change. So if NovelPad interests you, maybe keep an eye out for it. I think that this is one of the more fully featured tools, especially because they're getting their editing feedback from a place that I know is going to have high quality editing feedback. When I think about what I would want this software to do better, it's kind of hard for me to think of what it's missing. I like how everything's put together. I like the toolbar. I like that it's not a very busy screen. It's like when I'm writing, it's everything else gets out of the way and I can just write. I can shuffle things around. I can add synopsis. I can do whatever I need to do. Do I think NovelPad is flashy? I don't. I think when you look at this, you spend most of your time being like, neat. And I'm sure that there's more features in here you could explore and you'd be like, wow, I can't believe it does that. But I don't know what they are. So instead, I just look at this and I see a pretty solid writing tool. So, with that being said, let's hop over here. NovelPad, I think, is... If Scrivener's A tier... All right, I think we got to move Scrivener up to S tier. Because NovelPad's better than Plotter for sure. It does its job way better than Plotter does. I think it's a more valuable tool. But it can't be on the same tier as Scrivener. It just can't. Scrivener's still S tier. I think NovelPad could be developed to be more of a sandbox planning tool. Like, that's one of the things I really like about Scrivener is the fact that, okay, it's giving me a folder for organizing my thoughts on my characters and my locations. And here's like a folder they've made for me for research. But if I needed anything else, I can just make that folder myself. And while NovelPad has like the notes feature for you to create your own little section for planning, it's not accessible in the other places. In its current state, I think it's better at, I guess, editing. It's a good writing tool, but I feel like Scrivener is still better at planning and definitely exporting your story and like formatting. It has that whole compiling feature that NovelPad does not yet have. So I think that's just a pretty good A writing tool. But how does it stack up against Reedsy Studio? Now, I got some feelings about Reedsy. Let's go over to Reedsy. I've used Reedsy plenty. Usually it's been collaborating with some freelance professionals. That's kind of its bigger market, is the fact that, like, if you need a book cover designed, you go to Reedsy and hey, here's someone who's designed a book that you've read. And you can pay and try to get a quote from them and have them do your own book cover. Now, that's expensive. That'd be expensive. But that's like really the value that they bring. But they do offer, I believe it's called a Reedsy Studio. Maybe it's Reedsy Editor. But they do offer a writing tool themselves. Let's check it out. The question for me is, why would I choose to write in Reedsy over any other place? It feels strange, like writing in Reedsy, which is the marketplace where I would mostly be connecting with editors or beta readers or book cover designers. Why would I also choose that to use that as a writing tool? Well, let's see. Let's see what they got. So I did get in here before and I started kind of clicking around. They have a whole planning section. I like how it's all organized with what seems kind of like index cards. They have a template already in here for the hero's journey. Is this the one that I planned out before? Ooh, those. Ooh, you hate to see that. I tried to switch it to dark mode. That's behind the paywall. Oof. Man, putting just the dark mode behind the paywall is a rough one. It doesn't cost you anything to change the background color. That's rough. That's rough. You know, while we're here, let's look at the pricing. Interesting pricing mode. Maybe we need to go look at this in more detail. What the heck is craft? Unlimited history, advanced stats, custom goals, daily check-ins, and dark mode for $5 a month. I don't really know. We'll have to look at this more. Outline, unlimited boards, unlimited notes with attributes, pinned notes, list view, and dark mode. Paywalled dark mode. I ain't never seen it before. All right, so it seems like, was it boards? Unlimited boards is part of the paywall here. So this looks like that sandbox planning that I was looking at, or that I was just talking about before. You can click here and say, this is going to be my notes section, create a board. Boom, there you have it. Now I can put whatever I need into that notes. I like that. I like that. That's how I am used to planning a story, whether that's because that's naturally how I think or that's because that's how Scrivener had it. I don't know, but that's what I'm used to. Within a board, we can add, check it out, notes, templates, or folders. All right, pretty basic, pretty basic. Within the manuscript, we have our front matter. They have a copyright page generator, it looks like. We have a table of contents that is going to automatically generate. And then we have the actual body of our chapters. Was a dark and stormy night who walked down the fairway of Campus University College. Love it. Woo. Looking good. We got a lot of things over here. Changes in comments, notes, challenges. Ah, I see. Now I know why they have a writing tool. Look at this integration. Hey, you should come join this cool challenge that we're hosting. It's right here in your toolbar over here. Goals and insights. This looks really nice. Big fan of this. 16 plus words. I love, we haven't seen this in any other tools. Let me get my big fat head out of the way. In their goals and insights, they not only keep track of the words that you add, but also how many words you've removed. I like that feature. I wish that was in more writing tools because when we're editing, it's still making progress when we are cutting things that need to be cut. Big fan of that. They have a, behind the chat here, they have a check-in, an everyday check-in where you can rate your session and say how your work was today. All right, there's features here. Now I'm getting a little confused. Okay, let's keep going. What else we got down here? Writing timeline. It says, here's all the changes I've made in my story. Some version control. Unlock your history. Paywall. That makes sense, though. Find and replace. What's happening with our spell checker over here? Ah, here we go. Spell check. Show spelling suggestions. It was a bad time to be a knight. Okay, I like how they do the spell check. Like how they do the spell check. It's built in. That's pretty interesting. Click on change. Click on change. Fairly intuitive spell checker. Big fan. I know it's behind the chat here, so sorry. Insert an image. Split the chapter. Delete a chapter. Export. Share. And then some settings here. All right. All in all, I think this is pretty nice. I still just feel weird that I'm going to Reedsy to write. The dark mode being behind a paywall also puts a pretty bad taste in my mouth. Don't love that. Add a new chapter. I think the actual writing interface is fairly clean. User experience feels pretty good. I can get that down and write my second chapter. The knight sheathed his sword and stepped into the student lounge. Oh no, I had a typo. I better check my document and fix that. I like this spell checker. I think that's a fairly intuitive spell checker. All in all, you know, this is better than I thought. Better than I thought. Interesting. Let's look at pricing. I don't think I've actually looked at the pricing for this. Upgrade your studio. So the... Wait. The craft add-on... What does it mean add-on? Okay, I guess I guess add-on is just what they call the product. So we can, man, interesting. So the craft add-on gives you goals and stats and daily check-ins for $60 a year. $5 a month, not bad. And then the outlining add-on, which feels more useful to me personally, is about $100 a year. And combined, we're looking at $130 a year. Oh man, I don't know if I like that pricing. It was kind of confusing me first. They call it add-ons, which feels weird to me. As opposed to just being like, this is what you're paying for. Step into your writing studio. Format, okay, normal. Work anywhere, so we're syncing between things. That's pretty nice. I think there's some real-time collaboration. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm open to it. Share a sneak peek. Interesting. So you can share a link. The timeline, go back in time. I think that's kind of interesting, but I don't think... This is crazy. This is crazy that part of their product features is a dark mode. Take that out of here. Come on. Okay, so that was like the craft add-on. Plan. Create a board for anything you can imagine. So pretty much free-form planning and notes. This looks nice. I didn't see this in there before. Things can be presented as cards or lists. I don't know. I'm still kind of feeling iffy about it. I mean, to get everything, we were talking $130 a year. Some formatting features. We're going to be talking about this a little bit later. What is... You can pick a theme and export it. Okay. That makes it more useful. We have something similar to the compile feature. It's interesting in that this isn't added in any of the add-ons. So does this say I can just go into my manuscript and then export it? Is that what's happening here? Export book. EPUB. This is pretty nice. Uh-oh, this is pretty nice. Is this free? I write in Crimson. Crimson's my favorite. All right, let's export it in EPUB. I don't believe this is going to be free. I don't believe that. Prove me wrong. I dare you. I'll keep an eye out for the email. If this is a free feature, then that's huge. I mean, you don't get a lot of customization, but it's nice that it does it for you, because sometimes that can be one of the harder parts for a writer to get their book out into the world, is like, how do I make it look professional? I'll keep an eye on my email, see if we get anything here. Oh, my book has been typeset. All right, let me pull up my email. Let's see what the end result here, even though my story has one sentence in it. Hold on. All right. Reedsy Studio, your book has been typeset. Download your book. I downloaded. All right, I'm impressed. I thought for sure at the last moment they would be like, ooh, you're going to actually have to pay for that. Sorry. Because that's happened to me before. No, but it's I have an EPUB file right here. All right, Reedsy. All right, Reedsy. That's a pretty big move here. That's a pretty big move. That kind of paints everything in a new light. I think let me share my screen here. I think with the fact that they can export your book into like an actual format for you to like upload somewhere, and they're taking a lot of that out of your hands. They don't give you a ton of customization, but that can be one of the harder parts of getting your book out into the world. I think it's an A. Crazy that that's free, but dark mode isn't. Dude, that is so true. I am also shooketh. I was actually pretty impressed. I don't think they're in the chat, but I believe I remember, who was that? Oh, there's someone I've seen in chat over here talk about writing in Reedsy's studio. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I didn't think that would happen. I went into this thinking like, okay, like you're going to have to convince me that writing in Reedsy is actually worth it. And I think they kind of did. I think that was a pretty good tool. I think the compiling actually puts them above NovelPad in my case. In my understanding, that you have more freeform planning, which is how I like to plan. You can export, like I said, not a ton of options, but like, hey, it's pretty nice. I think the next one is going to be your least favorite. My friends, I believe it is time for us to talk about Sudowrite. You heard me talk about Sudowrite because Sudowrite is the big AI writing tool. They won't take dark mode from me. Jasmine says, I don't like how most of these programs do their pricing. I'd pay a little bit more if it was worth it, but I do overall prefer Scrivener's model. It's so affordable for how much you get for it. Yeah, I mean, the one-time payment is definitely the outlier in this current landscape. You know, the fact that as a company, you could offer someone a product for $60, or they could pay $500 over 5 years is a very different incentive, you know? Very different incentive, which is why we see it so much. All right. This is Sudowrite. You are not going to like Sudowrite because this is the most popular AI-powered writing tool. And they really lean into the AI side of things. When you do the onboarding for this program, they are very much like in your face about like, you barely have to write anything. So here's how it works. We have a couple tabs across the top. I've uploaded the first chapter of my Fourth Ward draft that I have sitting around. It automatically gave it a chapter title. I thought that was kind of funny. City Lights and Weekend Adventures, I think is not a very good chapter title, but okay. How this works, if I scroll all the way down, Sudowrite lets you create what's called a story Bible, which is you provide a bunch of information about your story. What's the brain dump of everything you know about the story, plot, characters, world building, theme, anything about your story that's going to help it generate more stuff. What genre are you writing in? Of course, this is going to make sure that when it generates stuff, it's going to be trying to fit it in that genre, those expectations. Do you want it to sound more like you or not? Thought that was kind of funny. A synopsis of your story. You can go in here and add characters. So here is Charlotte Hanson. She, her. Is that what it is? Personality. Quiet but quick to anger and then voice their opinions. See, okay, already I'm telling it information about my story, but even in this, it's like, do you want us to rewrite that for you? Who cares what this is written about? It's just going into the AI prompt at the end. Why does this need to be rewritten? Tell Sudowrite how to rewrite this personality? What? Okay, write it better. Charlotte is typically reserved, preferring to observe rather than speak. However, when provoked, her temper flares and she becomes passionately articulate, ensuring her opinions are unmistakably heard. All right. Now I don't have to write that. Cool. I could also generate a whole character just from a prompt. Let's make this a supporting character. Maggie, I can't remember that character's last name, is a loud and loyal friend who will speak up when the people around her don't. She is driven by justice and seeing her friends succeed. Sure. Or a random character. What in the world? There's a random character option. Who's going into a story being like, just give me whoever. I don't care who this character is. Just give me whoever. So we're generating a side character here. Margaret Maggie Reynolds. Other names Mags. Outspoken and passionate, Maggie fills the room with her presence. Her loyalty to friends is unwavering. Her sense of justice can turn into self-righteousness. She speaks without filter, sometimes saying things others wish she wouldn't. While quick to defend others, she can be stubborn to a fault and struggles. So remember, this is all us giving the AI information. So when it actually generates stuff for our story, it's going to do it in seemingly a stronger way. Natural leadership abilities and persuasive speaking skills. Knows how to organize people and rally support. Charlotte's longtime friend who acts as her vocal counterpart. I mean, yeah. That's good, I guess. Yeah. Let's collapse it. I got my characters. So you fill out this story Bible with all the information you can. And then that is so when you are in a section here, and let's say here's a little piece of dialogue where Maggie says, "I hate lines," Maggie grumbled as they reached the chicken place. From further down the chain of girls, Charlotte heard someone else groan that they didn't want fried chicken. A nod of agreement in the chain broke behind her as some of the girls went to one of the many other food places. Jason says, "I kind of want to see what it gives me with the whatever character." I got you. You can highlight something here. You can either say rewrite this in a certain way, add more description, or expand. So I'll click on expand. See if it lets me. It looks like it might be an upgrade. There we go. All right. Charlotte's group crashed to a halt at the foot of a long, winding line for Hop's Chicken. Is that what I called this place? I do have the chicken name in here, I think. Hold on. Let me see if Hop's Chicken exists. Maybe I didn't name it. Well, it's just named it for me. The queue spilled across the wide aisle, corralled by a velvet rope and a clipboard-wielding hostess who looked as though the weight of the evening had finally broken her will. The air was different, humid with fryer oil, electric with the sizzle of poultry, underscored by the scent of honey biscuits and an undertow of generic floor cleaner. Charlotte found herself pressed so close to Maggie's back that she could see the top stitching of her friend's thrifted denim jacket, which is crazy to me. It's making up a lot of details that, like, now I have to be mindful of as I keep writing. "I hate lines," Maggie announced to no one and everyone, stretching the word into a plea for cosmic sympathy. Holy moly. It keeps going. This is like it turned this one paragraph into like 6 paragraphs. That's crazy. All right. Up here at the top here, you can also run it in different modes. It is doing way too much. There's something in here that's called guided. I thought this would be kind of interesting. So tell Sudowrite what should come next. I can turn on suggestions, and I think now at the end, place. Okay, it gives me a couple suggestions here. A surprise encounter, an unexpected twist, and an argument with another group. A nearby group overhears Maggie calling the other girls bitches and confronts her. This leads to an escalating confrontation that forces Charlotte to play peacemaker, trying to defuse the situation. What happens if we click this? How much is it gonna do? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. It gives me, here's 4 paragraphs. 5 paragraphs. Okay, I was kind of worried it was going to be like word vomit. You know, like don't worry, we wrote the next 200 or, like 5,000 words. Zurich says, this is free or does it cost money? This is a subscription-based program, so you're paying X amount a month. We'll look at the pricing here in a second. You can kind of see how this is going. You can either have it generate new content. You can have it rewrite something that you highlight and tell it to. And it gives you options and you choose. You can have it focus on certain descriptions, and you can use it for brainstorming. If you click on this, there's a whole new path for brainstorming. So I could say, all right, I specifically want to brainstorm plot points. And then it's like a whole guided operation here for giving you that. It's pretty in depth. And I got to say, I have seen a lot worse AI tools where all it does is just say like, oh, did you want us to use ChatGPT to write the next paragraph? This is giving the user more agency. I can respect that, you know? They're building a house. What? Okay. Get me out of here. Let's go look at pricing. There's a lot going on here. Is pricing going to be in here? All right, here we go. So pricing $10 a month. And to be honest, the writing experience felt pretty clean. Disregard all the other AI things. The writing interface felt pretty nice. $10 a month. Here's the thing. Here's the issue. I'm not saying, give me a chance to speak. I'm not saying that, this is inherently a bad thing. There are people who want to use AI, whatever. I'm not even starting that conversation. But for $10 a month, with any AI tool that's based on credits, for $10 a month, what you're paying for is to be able to use the tool a certain amount. Not even to use the tool in an unlimited capacity, but to use the tool until you run out of credits. That's like the AI model, because it takes credits to run these things. I would hate to spend $10 a month and then still hit an end of, in the case here, if you're relying on AI to do your writing, when you're out of credits, are you done writing for the month? That seems bad. That seems, there's a lot of conversation you could have around it. But for me, the fact that if you choose to write with AI, what you're probably doing is to say, I have an issue with having confidence in how my words go onto the page, and I use AI to make them better. Or I have a really hard time with dialogue, so I write it poorly or prompt the AI to write it for me so it looks nicer. What's happening in the long run is that you're setting yourself up with all of these sort of like, you're propping yourself up in a way that if any one of these crutches are unavailable to you when you do want to write, then you just simply can't write. If the only way you can get to the end of your chapter is by having AI prompt you to the next plot points, then whenever you are away from the internet and you want to write, you just simply can't. Someone's going to say, you can host it locally. That's not the point. When the biggest issue for me is that when you use AI, and I expect this happens with a lot of beginner writers, when you use AI to help you write better, you never actually develop that skill into writing better. You just accept that you will use AI in that capacity for as long as you write for the rest of your life. That's not good. So $10 a month, $22 a month, $44 a month. What does that mean for our ranking here? What does that mean for our ranking? What is Sudowrite as a tool? I'm not just going to throw it in D because it uses AI and we don't feel like AI is the right move for us. Like, I'm trying to keep an open mind here. I'm going to put this as a writing tool. I'm feeling B or C here. I'm going to go... I'm going to go C, and let me tell you why. I'm going to go C because if you run out of credits, what is Sudowrite? There is no F tier. I'm not making a new one. If you're using Sudowrite to write your story, and so you're using it to rephrase some of your sentences, you're using it to expand your plot points, feel free. That's your choice. You've chosen to do that. That's totally fine. Do your thing. I'm not here to tell you how to do that. But let's say you're paying your $10 a month. You run out of credits. Are you still going to write? Are you just going to stop writing until your new credits come in the next month and then start writing your story? That just feels bad. So when you run out of credits, it's just a simple text editor, and that's it. I don't know. Zurich says, if you use all of your credits, you get to actually practice writing. That's what it takes. I'll put this one in front of it. Oh man, now that I'm thinking about it though, I think I might have just convinced myself to put it lower because it has a bunch of features that you can use if you're paying for it, but then you run out of credits and it's nothing. It's Notepad. It's maybe a rich text editor. And that's it. So what you're paying for isn't the writing tool. What you're paying for is just the pre-configured AI prompt that comes out of it. You know what? I think I convinced myself. I think it comes down. I convinced myself to bring it down. The fact that now that I'm looking at it not as a writing tool, but just as your AI credits, because it's basically all it is, that's a scam. Zerg says, Campfire has bad pricing, but like it's better. All right. Let's go to our next one. You all know what the next one here is. This is our sweet old Google Docs. And we can probably just talk about this one. Excuse me. Google Docs. You know what? Let me just say it like this. Let me bring you up here. Go full screen for a moment. When I started doing a YouTube channel, you know, before you start doing something like this, you're researching and you're saying, okay, like, what am I going to need to film a YouTube video? Oh, of course, I'm looking online. I'm going to need a light. Going to need a camera. You know, I'm going to need something. If I'm going to be reading to a script, maybe I need a teleprompter behind my camera. Maybe I need an actual teleprompter. Maybe I need an app on my phone. I need to go use Photoshop. I need to buy for a license of Photoshop so I can do my YouTube thumbnails. You think of all these things that you need to have in order to start doing something. And the best advice for getting into any hobby, whether it's this, whether it's writing, whether it is pottery, whatever the case is, whatever that thing is, the best advice I ever got was that let's put it back on the perspective of like a YouTube channel. What's the best camera to start your YouTube channel with? The one that you already have. What is the best thing you can do? The best piece of equipment to start a new hobby? It's the things that you have readily available because you might learn that you aren't going to be doing the hobby for very long. You shouldn't be $600, $1,500 in the hole and then learning that you're not liking that thing. And also, sometimes buying the big, shiny, bright tool that you think you need, it's just a distraction along the way of you actually wanting to do that thing. It's just one more reason why you can't do it yet. Google Docs is, let me put it back on here. Google Docs as a free product, we do not deserve. We do not deserve how good Google Docs is for it being, for all intents and purposes, free. You sign up for a free Gmail account. You get access to Google Docs. You have a certain amount of storage in Google Drive. You can easily share it with any other person who has a Gmail account. It does absolutely everything you need and more. Does it have shortcomings? Yes. It doesn't compile into a print-ready PDF. Maybe you can do that with some configurations and some settings. It has everything that you need to write an entire book, and it's completely free. We're all on Google Docs. I use it for every video script I've ever put together. I used it writing before I had Scrivener. That's what I used. And it's even gotten better between tabs and chapters and all of this stuff. You can watch a video and probably get absolutely everything you need out of Google Docs. I don't think it's ever going to be at that level of, exporting into a print ready format, but DocX as a file format is so ubiquitous, you could export your story out of Google Docs into something else and it would probably be able to format it just like that. Danish Pastry says, I'm gonna be honest, I prefer Google Docs to Word. Word has too much clutter. I haven't used the cloud version of Word. Is it Word 365? I don't know. In a long time. But I loved the old Microsoft Word, 2006 or maybe 2007 Microsoft Word. Iconic. And you know what? That's where Google Docs got almost all of its inspiration. This looks like Microsoft Word. That's also why it's blue. They took the color from Microsoft Word and said this is the analogous tool. It has audio now. It'll read to you now. Very cool, Dora. I didn't know that. I think it's only getting better. I think that Google Docs is probably one of the goated writing tools of all time. Easy. Easy S tier. I might go so far to say it's top of S tier. Ubiquitous, iconic, legendary writing tool. Everything else that comes after Google Docs, I think, is just when you decide to find a more specialized tool, because Google Docs is more general purpose. But plenty of people write their stories in Google Docs, and that's awesome. All right. I think we all knew Google Docs was going to be S tier. I'm tempted to put it up into S+. I'm tempted. But I'm going to hold off because I'm still thinking. I'm still thinking about it. All right. Excuse me. Let us talk about our group of editing tools. We're going to talk about ProWritingAid. You've heard me talk about ProWritingAid a lot. Then we're going to talk about Vellum and Atticus. And I have a story to tell you. And it pains me to tell you this story because it makes me sad. Let's talk about ProWritingAid first. ProWritingAid, you've heard me talk about ProWritingAid a lot. You know I like ProWritingAid. Let me clean up some of my applications here. You know I love me some ProWritingAid. You're wondering if ProWritingAid is better than Google Docs. Well, hold on. Let's talk. So ProWritingAid, in my head, am always like, okay, ProWritingAid is there for editing. But they do have their dashboard over here. Let me get logged in. I thought I was already logged in. Oh, hold on. Confirm. Come on. Let me go full camera for a second. So it doesn't be, so it's not going to be like, hey, here's your address and your bank account number. I don't know. Hold on. They're making me go through onboarding. Hold on. Even though I have a lifetime membership. Okay. Get me out of here. There we are. Excuse me. All right. Pro Writing Gate also, they have their extensions and everything, but they also have like a writing platform here. So I'm going to open that up so we have something while we talk. Oh, shoot. I have this. I'm not in this one. I'm in a different. No wonder it made me go through onboarding. I signed in with the wrong account. Dang it. Stupid. All right, here we go. So I have a couple of things I've already uploaded in here. They do have like a here is your a place for you to write. This is not the primary use of Pro Writing Aid. Like, I think most people are using Pro Writing Aid in a capacity of like, I'm writing in Google Docs and I'm using the browser extension, or I'm writing in Scrivener or this other tool and I'm using this other extension. But it does have its own writing thing. But more than likely, you're going to be clicking in here and running some editing stuff. Dora says, don't you work for them still? I was on a contract with Pro Writing Aid that ended this week. So what you're hearing is I'm not being paid by Pro Writing Aid or anything. This is just me talking about the tool. I was using it before I was contracted with them, and I'm still using it now. So let's talk about what Pro Writing Aid does for editing and how does it stack up against the other editing tools. Currently, Pro Writing Aid is still, to my knowledge, the only editing tool that is kind of specialized to creative writing. You know, Grammarly has always been the big name in like software editing. But Grammarly, I don't know if you knew this, Grammarly also has just recently gone through I don't know if it was an acquisition or a rebranding. Here, I'll pull it up real fast here. Grammarly is now Superhuman, is what it's called. So it used to be Grammarly was the big software editing thing. They've positioned themselves a little bit differently now, and Grammarly has always been more general purpose. So it's been, you get Grammarly because when you're writing in Google Docs or a PowerPoint presentation or an email or a Slack message, we're going to make sure you sound professional. That was always kind of Grammarly's thing. Like general purpose, like here you can even see their integration here is with Slack as opposed to like writing in Scrivener. So this has always been their thing, is like Grammarly, general purpose. They are pivoting, from the best I can tell, to being just a professional AI-powered suite of tools. So you can see all of this stuff here is like generate some stuff. And that means Pro Writing Aid is kind of the only big name creative writing focused editing tool. There are AI capabilities in here, mostly going to be in this critique category. So it'll be things like, take my entire manuscript and give me some feedback on what its strengths and weaknesses were. Same thing with look at my story and act as a beta reader. These are all very AI powered things. It's generating, using AI, information and feedback on your story. That's never been where I have found the most use out of Pro Writing Aid. I almost exclusively use these reports. And these reports have been around for a long time. I bought Pro Writing Aid a lifetime access in 2020, so that's almost 6 years ago. And I bought this and Scrivener on the same day. I said, I'm going to get both of these because at the time, Pro Writing Aid had a desktop app that natively integrated with Scrivener. They don't support it. It's still technically out there, but they don't support that anymore. Now they have an extension. But I like that setup. I like being able to go in here and say like, okay, you know what? I need to click on this echoes report and I want to see, are there any words I'm using in close proximity of each other? Because when I read books, I notice that a lot. The fact that it was night outside. He looked into the starry sky of the night and saw a constellation. Using the word night back to back so close. Crazy. Zinder says, are those reports AI? Not really. I mean, I can't tell you, I'm not on the development team, but you don't need AI to say you wrote the words green within 50 words of each other. That's not really an AI application. It's been around since I was using it back in 2020. We've latched onto the idea that AI is kind of like this magical thing to get to the other side of an output. But these reports have been around since 2020. Maybe is before. I don't know what what's happening behind the scenes, but you don't need AI for grammar or style or spelling. We've been doing that since 2003 or whenever Microsoft Word put a little squiggly red line under something. So as far as I know, these aren't AI. Clicking on the readability report, this is not AI. There are formulas for readability that are giving you information back. This is just running things through the formula. Sentence length report, just counting some words. The critique reports that we just talked about, manuscript analysis, all of this very much AI. But all of these reports, these are a thesaurus report. You don't need AI to say what's another word for green. Now there are other things in here. For example, if I highlight a sentence, not bad, just not right, I have options for rephrasing things. Where'd it go? I don't know if it's coming up here, but I have options for rephrasing things. And they have something called Sparks, and that does some rephrasing. And those use AI, because that's generating new text. But these reports have been around forever. As far as I know, they're just using formulas in the background that we've been using for however long, for however many years, to get you information on your writing. So, and we'll talk about the AI tools here in the critique report. I use these reports way more than I use the AI critique reports because I paid for this and I can run these reports at leisure, however much that I want. The sticky sentences report, I get a lot of use out of. This kind of guides me into wanting to rewrite something, right? Same thing with readability. Now, there's a lot of information on the screen here. You're probably, if you ever pick up Pro Writing Game, you probably are going to open this up and you're going to use 4 or 5 reports. And that's it. You're probably never going to bother with running a structure report. I don't know if I've ever run this. 0% of my sentences start with a gerund. That's good to know. But I run the grammar and the style and the echoes and the readability and the sticky sentences reports and things like that pretty often if I'm trying to bring something to a nice output. That being said, these critique reports, which I have some in my feedback history here, so they've been saved, these are very much AI driven. Now, we'll talk about the pricing here in a minute. As I scroll through this, what you do is you would say like, okay, here's my entire manuscript. Now run the manuscript analysis, and it's going to take everything and it's going to run it through an AI that's going to give you information back on, did you miss any plot holes? Did you do X, Y, and Z? This part felt really weak. This part was really strong. My issue with any sort of AI feedback on a tool is I don't care. I don't care if an AI tells me I did a really good job on this character. That means nothing to me. What I do care about is any actionable information it can give me that I can interpret and decide on. So like as I'm scrolling through here, it's going to say like, here's like the themes and the motifs that we've noticed in your story. Okay, cool. I'm going to scroll through. Here's some similar books. This could be good for marketing kind of stuff. Okay, nice. I'd never really thought about that. As I'm scrolling through all of this stuff, it doesn't mean much to me, but it does help me feel like the AI is understood my story enough that the more actionable things later on might mean more to me. So like I'm going to scroll through and we get down to the feedback here. There's a strong theme of home and belonging, and that's working well. Great. I love that. I'm not going to do anything about it, but it's cool to know. An underdeveloped theme of animal welfare. Now, it's giving me information. I can decide whether or not I agree with that or don't agree with that, whether I care enough about it to make a change. I've shared a manuscript analysis on my story before. I was probably even this exact one, and you're still interpreting all this. So you're still the one saying like, okay, while Rachel's compassion for animals is evident, the theme of animal welfare is not explored. I can say that's not a theme I really want to explore. Or I could say, man, I never thought about that. That's a great point. I should take that information and then add on to my story as I see fit to explore that theme. My feeling about this use of AI is that it is not putting words on the page for me. It is giving me information and I'm deciding whether or not I want to act on that. So for example, inconsistent timeline of this character's age and acquisition. Maybe that's a blind spot that I totally had and I had not paid attention to that. That would be great feedback for me to just make a couple changes in my story to eliminate this inconsistency. And it even tells me in chapter 3, there's this specific mention. Here's like another thing is, it says he's 2 years old, but it says that this character has had this dog for a couple years. Maybe I need to act on that. So there's some things that kind of hit and some things that kind of miss. But just like if I was getting that feedback from a beta reader, it's up to me as the author to interpret that and figure out if I want to actually make any changes. Hello, the gaming novelist. All of that being said, let's talk about pricing. Because the pricing, if I hop down here, we have free, which is basically just a trial. The free version only, if you have 1,000 words opened up in Pro Writing Aid, it will only process the first 500, and then you're limited on a bunch of other features so you can see how they act, and then hopefully, if you like it, you can make your decision. $10 a month for premium. This gives you unlimited reports and some rephrasing things. And some chapter critiques, which is like a smaller AI, not looking at your whole story, but looking at the chapter you have open. And then you have the Premium Pro, which gives you 3 of those chapter critiques, all of your reports, yada, yada, yada. Now, let's talk about the AI thing, because this has been the big controversy, is the way that the AI manuscript analysis works is that you buy credits and then you use those credits to get that manuscript analysis. I believe, it's one of these things where if you were to buy a single credit, it might be like $50, but you can buy them in a bundle and each one's cheaper, but you're paying a larger amount. If you have premium, then now you can buy those story credits off and they are more discounted. So you're still paying for the credits, but they're a little bit cheaper to you. Or if you're paying for this Premium Pro, now they're even more discounted. Now, the thing is, there's things I like and things I don't like. I don't think there's a way you could do this without having some kind of credit, because you might be uploading a 150,000 word story. That's just a lot of words and processing that needs to happen. The thing I really like is that if you wanted, you could have a totally free account, pay full price on the story credit, and get that feedback that you wanted. And I'll tell you, for developmental editing for Upon Careless Gray Hills, that cost me almost $3,000. That's insane. And I believe that running that manuscript analysis on my story probably would have given me 80 to 85% of the same feedback I got for $3,000 from a developmental editor. Now, you're probably saying that's too much, but you're also probably saying, wouldn't you rather support a professional in the industry than throw money at an AI? Absolutely. But I got to tell you, I don't have $3,000 to be throwing around. And if I make a change to my story, I'm not, I don't get a free developmental edit again with that person. But I could pay $50 and get 80% of that information through a manuscript analysis, and I could do it even on the free tier. That's pretty sick. So that's all I'm saying. I think ProWriting Aid is the best editing tool. That's why I bought it, and that's why I reached out to them for collaborating on a partnership, and then that's how that eventually turned into me contracting with them and doing videos for them. I wouldn't have paid $400 for ProWriting Aid back in 2020 if I didn't find the value in those reports. That was before they even had the manuscript analysis. I think ProWriting Aid, I would probably say, as a writing tool, is A tier. As an editing specific tool, I'd probably put it in S tier. But we're talking writing tools in general, I'm going to go A tier. Probably, yeah. So NovelPad, this is interesting because I put it right next to NovelPad, and NovelPad uses ProWriting Aid to get editing feedback within the tool. It's not running all those reports, but it's doing like the style and the grammar and spelling. I don't know, something to think about. That's included in your membership. You don't need to pay a whole other thing. I think it's an A tier. I think the biggest thing I got out of ProWriting Aid when I was using it on Starlight Farms Kindle for Talking Dogs, which I never paid an editor to edit that story. That was just me, my wife, and ProWriting Aid. That's what you can do and how you can get a book out in the world and it still feel pretty high quality. Not perfect, but pretty high quality without having to spend thousands of dollars. Look, the simple fact is we are not making enough money on each book sale to be able to spend $3,000 on a developmental editor. It's a great editing tool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn because it's a great editing tool. I don't think every writer needs to have it, especially those earlier in your career, but I think it makes a lot of sense for when you're taking it more seriously to invest in. When you're ready to say like, okay, I'm really going to invest in the tools to be successful, this can be a good one to invest in. Other people are going to say, maybe they want to work with an editor. Maybe they want to share it with their friends. Maybe they trust this other tool. I think ProWriting Aid is pretty great. So let's talk about Vellum and Atticus, because you can't talk about one without talking about the other. Has anyone here heard of Vellum or Atticus? And then I'm going to tell you a story. Let me get Vellum open and I'll show you what it does. Vellum is a tool to take your finished manuscript and format it for release. That's all it does. And it does it really nicely. Vellum is here for you to say, I'm done with my story. I'm going to upload the entire manuscript into Vellum. You can see I've done that here with Starlight Farms Kindle for Talking Dogs. You are seeing a fully finished book here. Looking great. Love it. And the entire purpose of this is so that you can choose a format or make your own. I think I'm on the free trial version. I may not be able to make my own. But to choose a format and see exactly how it's going to look as like the final Kindle result. And I can change what device I be reading this through, which I think is kind of cool. And say, what's this going to look like if someone's reading it on an iPad, on a phone? What if someone's reading it on a Nook? We still got Nook readers around. So, I don't know. Hey. And then you export it. and everything looks really nice and professional. I think it can also do some like maybe some print things. Let me see if I can put that over here. 5x8, so that's your typical soft cover book. So you can, it looks like maybe use it for formatting for a print book as well. And then you can check it all and look at it. Boom. You can go into these and make certain changes. I don't know if I'm on a more limited version as like the free demo or if this is exactly what it looks like in the main one. I can say I want this heading to look a little bit different. I want to have my first paragraph be indented in a different way. You can go and change how these formats are. You upload your story in, you export it out. It looks really nice. You can also make some changes. I don't think anyone's writing in Vellum. I think it's mostly a formatting and exporting tool, but you can go in here and you can type things in. And that's it. That's what Vellum does. Pretty nice. Now, let me tell you my issue. There's another piece of software called Atticus. Let's go look at the price of Vellum, then we'll also go look at Atticus. Vellum is a Mac-only piece of software, so I understand that may lower its grade. Not every writer can use it, that's fair. But it's got one purpose, and it does that one purpose pretty well. Format my book. There you go. Let's go look at Atticus. Atticus is a competing tool that also encourages you to write in it. It has more writing features. Danish says, are we getting to the T part? We are. It's worth saying Atticus is available on more tools, right? You can use this on Windows. You can't use Atticus on Windows. But its real design is to do the same thing. Upload your book, export it out in a certain format that's going to look nice. Sounds pretty familiar, right? You know what? If I was in the buying mindset and trying to figure out what I would want to choose, I would probably do something like this. I might go in here and say, I'm just going to Google what's the best writing tools. And after I get past the sponsored results, which I don't want any part in, I might go in here and say like, you know what? This isn't the article I want. We want best writing software. I got to be specific about what I type in here. Get past the sponsored stuff. Oh, you know what? Check this out. I'm not super knowledgeable in writing. I'm just interested in like getting into writing, and I want to know what the best software to go for is. But you know what? Even though I'm not super knowledgeable in writing, Kindlepreneur is a name that sticks out to me. And you know what's pretty sick? This article I just landed on, it's updated, it's up to date. Oh, it's written by Dave Chess, and I can see over here, he is the founder of Kindlepreneur. That's the website I'm on. I trust this guy. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to read this. Oh, bottom line, right at the top. This is nice. Bottom line, after years of writing, I found that Atticus is the best book writing software out there. Ooh, that's a bold statement. And you know, this guy owns Kindlepreneur. He's writing this article. It's probably a trusted source. Let's keep scrolling down. I recommend Google Docs. Okay. I'm going to scroll down. Okay, you know, we got a blurb about who Dave Chesson is. He's the guy who owns this site. Oh, big pop-up ad. And right at the top, he's going to tell us about how good Atticus is. Okay. Atticus is the best all-in-one novel writing for writing and formatting a book. Okay, that's pretty great. It's as if Scrivener, Google Docs, and Vellum had a baby. Its name would be Atticus. Oh, wow, that's pretty awesome. Let me scroll down here. Why not use Vellum, this direct competitor? Oh, well, because Atticus is cheaper. You know, it's better than Vellum. Don't even worry about Vellum. Atticus is the way to go. Okay, I'm going to scroll through. I'm going to keep watching all of this. You know, okay, Scrivener. I've heard about Scrivener. Okay, you know what? I'm going to choose to trust this Dave Chesson guy. he wouldn't lie to me. If he says Atticus is the best writing software, I'm going to read through this whole thing, of course, but like, why would I even pay attention to any of these? Bottom line, top of the page, he says Atticus is just the best. Wow. Huh. Okay, well, I'll scroll down here. I bet there's some like closing thoughts down here. By the way, this page has been updated time and time again. I once looked at the numbers. I've looked at the numbers before, and there's websites that estimate traffic to certain URLs based on their ranking in Google search and all these things. And to my knowledge, this web page, this landing page right here is getting 10 to tens of thousands of visitors every month. Keep that in mind. All right, we get down to the end. Writing book software we don't recommend. Huh, okay, well, Bibisco, never heard of that one. Vellum, you wouldn't recommend Vellum because Atticus offers better capabilities at a lower price point and works on all platforms. Man, this Vellum piece of software must suck. You know, I should go check out Atticus. I'll go here. I'll go to the Atticus website. Wow. I mean, if Dave Chesson completely... if Dave Chesson, who is completely an impartial third party, is telling me, and he's a trusted source, I'm just going to scroll through here. I better just get Atticus. But what's this? If you scroll all the way to the bottom, all the way, who do we see? Dave freaking Chesson. Dave Chesson, right at the bottom of the page. Not only is he founder of Kindlepreneur, he's the founder of Publish Rocket and Atticus. Don't you think this webpage getting 10 to tens of thousands of visitors a month would disclose that? I mean, ethically, I would probably say that right at the top of the page. You know, it says he's the CEO of Kindlepreneur. Why not say you're the founder of Atticus? Why not say it up here with your other products? You know what? I bet if we go to the Kindlepreneur homepage and scroll down, that we would see that he's the founder of Kindlepreneur, Publisher Rocket, and Atticus, which is so present on the homepage of the website. It makes it that much more egregious that it is not present on that one very specific page. Dave. Come on. That's my issue with Atticus and Kindlepreneur, is the fact that I know if I wasn't in my current level of knowledge and experience in writing, I would have come to that very same page because I would have Googled what's the best writing software. I would have landed on this page. Bottom line, go to Atticus. I'd scroll down here, editor's choice, Atticus. And not once does Dave say, oh, by the way, conflict of interest. If you go buy Atticus, you're putting money directly in my pocket. And you know, I made a video about this a while ago, pointing this out. And the article has been updated multiple times, and still nothing. Still nothing. That bums me out. We don't have a lot of really high quality writing resources we can rely on. Like, you know, other art forms, singing and music, other art forms, painting, they're drawing. They're so popular. They're rife with resources online that are really high quality and trusted. We do not have that in writing nearly as much. And it bums me out that probably one of the biggest platforms for writers and self-published writers and indie writers are doing this. So that's a bit of frustration for me. I would love to see this updated. All it would take is a one-liner at the top of this article that says, by the way, I'm Dave Chesson. I own Kindlepreneur, Publisher Rocket, and Atticus. I want your tool to be great. and I want you to love it, and I want to love it, but like, I trust your website less now because of that. So there's some tea for you. Also, on top of all that, I would love to try Atticus and give you another opinion, one that is much more well-researched, maybe disregards that subterfuge. But as far as I can tell, there is also not a demo or free trial. There's just a 30-day money-back guarantee, and I don't want to do that. So I cannot try Atticus. So with all of the information I have, unfortunately, I have to put Atticus at D tier. I'll do us all a favor here, and I'll move Pseudo to the bottom. My opinion there. Vellum, I think, is a B-level writing tool. Very similar to Plotter. It does one very specific thing. It does it pretty well, but it is not quite... it's not a big, robust tool. So, I can't try Atticus. I have to buy it outright to open it up. I can't try it, and I felt bad. If they have a free trial or a demo, I would love to try it out. But I'm not paying $147 to try it out. Atticus is for the people who don't have Macs. That's a great point. And I hope it does its job really, really well. All right. Now, that also brings me to the next tool, Publisher Rocket, which is part of the Chesson ecosystem. And it's a pretty valuable tool. So after you write your book, after you get your manuscript, after you put it out in the world, if you want to post on Amazon, you have a couple requirements. When you're putting a book on Amazon, you choose 7 keywords and 3 categories. 3 categories. In order to position your book on Amazon and hopefully try to find readers. And it's kind of hard to make that decision. Publisher Rocket is one of 2 tools that I know of to help you make that decision. Let me open it up here and I'll walk you through it real fast. I did buy Publisher Rocket a couple of years ago. And I've gotten a lot of value out of it. I think it's one of those things where, like, if you're publishing on Amazon, there's not really another tool for you to use in order to do this. Let me share my screen here. So with Publisher Rocket, it's a way for you to understand the landscape of Amazon so you can position your book accurately. So I told you 7 keywords, 3 categories for your Amazon book. This is only if you're publishing to Amazon. So you go in here. This is a one-time payment. It's worth saying that. So I would go say, I'm about to publish Upon Careless Gray Hills. I'm going to try to figure out what category this book needs to be in. The reason why that's important is because you're going to be finding readers who are looking for books in that category. Once they're in that category, like it's all a part of SEO and getting your book in front of people. So how this works is Upon Careless Gray Hills is like a thriller. So I would type in that genre of book and it's going to return me a bunch of categories that Amazon offers for you to put your book in. So for example, let me scroll down and find a good one. Let's get out of fiction. Here we go. Kindle book, fiction, action, adventure, mystery, thriller, suspense. So why is this important? This is going to tell me if I was to publish a book in this category. One of the best things that could happen is you write a book, you put it on Amazon, and it becomes an Amazon bestseller. Wouldn't that be sick? That would be pretty sick. But how does that happen? In order for your book to show up in like the top 10 books in thriller and suspense, it needs to make a certain amount of sales in a day. This tool will tell you that amount of sales. So I know if I was to select to put my book in this literary fiction, action, adventure, mystery, thriller, suspense category, In order to be the number one top selling book in that category, I need to sell 1,636 books in a single day. In a single day. In order to land in the top 10, I would need to sell 112 books in a single day. Now, that's important because you end up on this sort of landing page, and also it's kind of an accolade you can start kind of bragging with. Being a top 10 Amazon bestseller is pretty great, I would imagine. I'm not. Of the books that are being put in this category, 87% are from publishers, and 26% of them are on Kindle Unlimited. I can click on Insights, and it'll tell me some information. We got a lot of growth in this genre right now. Things are, I guess, looking good. So you're using all of this information in order to position your book on Amazon. If you're publishing on Amazon, this is a pretty critical step. It is kind of daunting to be making these decisions when you're publishing your book and not knowing whether or not you're making the right decisions. And this kind of helps. What's kind of cool, though, is you can also go in here and I can type in thriller, and it's going to estimate information about the books that are top sellers in the thriller category. For example, once this pops up, The Silent Patient is a hugely popular book right now. It's supposed to have this big twist at the end. It's selling like crazy. It has been on Amazon for 1,683 weeks, I think. Is that weeks? Days. 1,683 days. Here is a number. It's 368 pages. It's $8. It's making $1,500 in sales a day and $35,000 a month in sales. What does this tell you? Probably not a lot, but it does let you kind of dream. What if I can make those sales? That'd be pretty cool. If your book is very much like this one, though, you can see what categories they've chosen. You can see keywords similar to what they've chosen, and then you can go over, you can do more research here. You can go put it in Amazon and try to position your book there. There is another tool that does something very similar. It's called KD Spy. Let's see if I can pull it up here. I think it's just maybe an extension in your browser. But the same sort of thing is accessing the Amazon, I assume, API and giving you that same kind of information. If you feel like Publisher Rocket is not something you want to support because it's also owned by Dave Chesson, then you have another option. I've already bought Publisher Rocket. It is a good tool at what it does. I haven't had the chance to use KD Spy yet, but I'll check it out. But for what it does, Publisher Rocket is a one-time fee, and it does that one thing. Let's go look at the price. It pretty often goes on sale for what it's worth, because I think it's like $200 or something. Let's see if I can find it down here. Dave, where's the price? Dave! Here it is. There he is. Publisher Rocket with Kindlepreneur and Atticus. So I think I bought it for $199. I think that's its normal price. But it does go on sale pretty often as well. If you are going to publish on Amazon, I think you need a tool like this. It's hard to say, though, because it's hard to compare what you are actually getting out of it. There's not an easy way to get this information if you're just on Amazon. If you're like trying to get it, there's not really an easy way to access it. I would love to be able to give you specific metrics, being like, this book was X amount % more discoverable, but it feels like you're taking more control in your book, and that does feel pretty good. Zender says, I think it's useful considering tags and Wattpad can make or break a book's exposure. Same concept, Zender. So I would say The issue with Publisher Rocket is, and this may also kind of be the case with Vellum, is that you only use this tool like very sparingly. You're going to use Publisher Rocket when you finish your manuscript and are about to put it on Amazon. That's it. That's the only time. And you can click in here and you can try to make plans and stuff like that. But they did add a feature in Publisher Rocket to help you plan Amazon ads. Same kind of thing. You choose like categories. I'll play around with that more. But otherwise, it's just kind of that one thing. I think Publisher Rocket is still a B tier tool. I think I'd probably put it above Plotter in the sense that once you finish your manuscript and you're wanting to put it out on Amazon, you're kind of in deep water. You can do all the research in the world, and it's kind of hard to figure out if you're making the right steps. So sometimes you just want information. And Publisher Rocket really just gives you information. Very specific information. Information you're only going to use a couple times in your life. But, I mean, if I had to make these categories and keyword decisions without a tool like KDSpy or Publisher Rocket, then I would feel at like such a loss. Like, what am I supposed to choose here? I can type anything in these keyword categories. What am I supposed to type in? And it's just so hard to feel like you're getting the right information. This gives you something. It's a very specific tool. I think it's something that would benefit people if they want to publish on Amazon, and if they felt as kind of in the dark as I felt. So I'll say that. We got two more here, and then we're going to wrap it up. Next, we got something that I consider to be kind of a hidden gem. This is the Hemingway editor. The Hemingway editor is kind of going through an identity crisis right now. Because it used to be one thing, and it's currently in the transition stages of becoming something else. The first thing that Hemingway does is you go in here and you can put your story. You can just write in kind of a distraction-free writing setting. And then it has an edit tab. And this edit tab, what it used to do was what you see on the right side. It would tell you readability. It would highlight sentences that could be refined. It would point out passive voice, spelling, grammar errors. That's kind of it. Now, Pro Writing Aid has 25 reports. Isn't that more valuable than this measly readability and style? Are you kidding? 25 reports to understand your writing better. You can highlight things. You can read. Look, sometimes I don't want all of that. That's a little over. Sometimes I just want to refine my writing a bit. Sometimes I want a tool to just say, this sentence is a little clunky. I'm not going to tell you how to fix it, but why don't you try rewriting it? And that's kind of nice. Now, I say it's going through a little bit of an identity crisis because they're now offering this Hemingway Plus. And the whole point of Hemingway Plus is that you can use AI to rewrite, to fix your grammar. That's kind of it. And to me, I'm like, I get why they're doing that. That's just the new thing. Right now, if you are an editing tool that doesn't utilize AI, you are kind of the only editing tool that doesn't utilize AI. So if that was just the case, maybe I wouldn't have even included it here. But they have a little link at the top where you can buy the desktop version of Hemingway with those nice colors. You can see it right back there. And the readability and the style and the passive voice for $20. No AI, fully offline. And now you just have a simple, chill grammar editing feedback tool. It doesn't do too much, and that's okay. Use it anywhere. It's it might be Markdown, I think. Make it look a little nicer. There you go. I think there's something nice about a tool that's not trying to do too much, and that's pretty great. So I wanted it to include it on our tier list here because I think there is definitely room for a tool that doesn't tell you how to fix everything, that just says, I noticed this was a bit clunky. And it looks nice. What more could you ask for? You know, sometimes you don't need the big flashy thing. I think it's a pretty good tool. I sometimes go to the Hemingway browser and paste a small bit of writing in there just to see, because I would rather sometimes get that than have to run 25 reports and generate a style thing and see a bar graph of how my writing compares to this other writer in this genre. Sometimes just like tell me what sentence should be refined. And I think that's nice. Which brings us to the very last tool. All the artists... Oh, let me open it up here. All the artists rejoice because we have Inkarnate. This is in the fun category. Dora says, are you rating the plus tool or the normal one? I'm rating the normal one, the desktop one that you can buy for $20. I feel like it's a good value. It doesn't try to do too much. I'd be happy writing in it. I like it. I like it. Let's talk Inkarnate. What is Inkarnate? Inkarnate is specifically a tool so that you can make big fantasy maps for your book. Here's what it does. Let's make a new map. We'll go in here. I'm going to make a fantasy world. Yeah, let's do that one. Or should we do a city? Let's do a fantasy world. I want to make a fantasy world for my story, and it's going to be for my book, my epic fantasy New Worlds. Create that map. Now, I am using a lesser known web browser, but it should be okay. I'm using the Zen browser, been a big fan lately. So how does this work? This is a tool for you to create a map, and it takes all of the difficult artistic design out of your hands so you can just create. So for example, I need to add some land. Wow, look at me go. Let's lower our brush size here. Now, I am not super artistic, so I am just going to do my best. We'll create a little something like that. Fill this in. You can see it's giving me like a cool little coastline. We'll go in there. We'll add some rivers in a bit. Let's do that. We'll add another island kind of off the side here. That sounds like it could be kind of fun. Little thing over here. Fill this bad boy in. Now, what it's doing here is pretty simple. They have textures. They have the coastline. They have all this stuff kind of done for you. I'll go down here. Give us a little island here. Oh yeah, you love the islands. Every fantasy story deserves a little bit more in terms of islands. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So it's doing all the hard parts for me, you know? Let's give ourselves an island up here that's going to be like the, when we get to ice tools, this will be cool. Give ourselves a little blob. Little blob. Love ourselves a little blob. All the artists in the chat are screaming. They're like, what are you doing? Do something better. I'm on the free version here. This is their free demo. It is a little bit more restricted. But they have a preset amount of interesting things. For example, I've been drawing in green grass, but maybe we want to have a desert somewhere in our lands here. So maybe along this side. Oh, I'm still in yellow grassland. Whoops. Let's go beige land. Hello? Oh, my bad. I'm on my water brush. There we go. We're going to have a desert over here. Let's throw in some Yellow land in the middle, maybe. That gradient looks terrible. All right, so we've gone in here. We've added some land. Here's the fun part. They have what are called stamps, and I'll zoom in here. These stamps, which I'm on the free version, I'm a little bit more limited, are already designed for me. You can see they come in all kinds of different styles. Very pretty, very cool. And they do like different size maps. You can do more regional stuff and do a city. You can do a specific town. But what's cool is I can grab one of these mountains, and I have, if you look in our top left, 9 varieties of these mountains. And by default, it's set so that every time I put down a mountain, we'll put it right over here, it chooses another one for me randomly from our assessment. Now I'll go in here and I'll change the scale. Put some smaller ones here. And then I'll change the scale some more. Some little guys. Oh, they're so cute. Yellow land, Zinder, that's a desert. Don't even at me. We'll throw in some green hills. So you can see how this is gonna go, you know? Let's throw some green hills. Whoops. That looks pretty bad. Some green hills up here. You know what? Also, if I'm writing a big fantasy story, you know what I'm going to have? I'm going to have freaking dragons. Let's put a dragon, change the scale a little bit, flying over our mountains. Add a layer so it's on top. Can we zoom in? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Put a dragon flying over there. Maybe we'll grab another creature. Parchment serpent. You can see what's happening here. You can see what's happening here. I could spend all day doing this, you know? Let me throw in a scary cave over here. Oh, that's a great place for it. Let me go in here and add in, we need a castle. A fortified city. Boom. Right there. You can see what's happening here. Here's the deal. You could go in here and you could have a ton of fun. It would be awesome to make your fantasy map. Oh my God, we got spires, we got arches, we got waterfalls. Pretty sick. Throw in a glitch. Oh, paywalled. You can see what's happening here. The issue is this. I put it specifically in the fun category because it is exactly that. It is really fun. But I think you might know where I'm going to go with this. Will you spend more time doing this than you will actually writing? Are you going to, every new story that you get, are you going to start by making a map and go in here and play with Inkarnate and make a map? What if you spent that time writing, you know? I hate saying it. I hate saying it. Let's go back. I do want to go in here. We got to save it. That was a masterpiece. Kayla says, how well can you make rivers? There is a path tool I think would be a good use for that, but it was behind a paywall. Maybe you can, here, I'll go into my test map. You can see, guys, what I whipped up when it was just me, and I was like, I'm having a good time. You see, I got my trees. I bet what you could do is you could go in here, grab a blue water, make your brush size real little, put it on here, and do something like that. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to do it. That doesn't look so great. But yeah, there are tools here that are behind the paywall. This is more of a game. Yeah, it is. It is one of those things that... Now, here's the thing. It's not just for authors, okay? It's not just for people who are working on their story. You can... It is designed for other kinds of things. For example, if you are making a a map for D&D. If you are running a tabletop game. So like, of course there's other ways to do it, but God, it looks so good. You know? It looks so good. They really crushed it. Is this a writing tool? No. Is it fun? Yes. You guys have some good questions about rights. Let me go see. Oh, that's so crazy what they've been able to do. Let me get out of here. Where am I? Get me out of here. This is a paid product, right? So it is worth pointing out. Where is the pricing? Where's the pricing? Bro, where's the pricing? Oh my God. Doris says, I still want this to play around with. Go try the free trial. It is fun. I'm just worried I would get more, distracted. So look at this. Let's go in here. Look at that map. Someone made that in here, and it looks sick. Making ships, that's great. Whether you're using them for D&D, whether you're doing your own map, it looks great. Let's be realistic, though. First off, I wish I could find the freaking pricing thing. Here we go. Getting this for $25 a year feels totally fair. I think that is a fantastic price point for this because I think it is mostly just fun. And if that gets you more excited to write your story, as long as you're still writing your story, go for it. $25 a year feels very reasonable to me. $40 a year for commercial use. Maybe there we go. That's what we were looking for. For commercial use, also, I think is not so bad. $40 a year, that's not bad. I'm paying way more for something like Netflix, you know? $25 a year, $40 a year, pretty good price. I added it on here last minute for our tier list, and I think for the price, for what it does, the maps look so damn good. The price, totally reasonable. If you want to do this, I say by all means, go have some fun. Please actually go write your story. But also, go have fun. We don't have to be too serious about it. So with that being done, we are now at the end of our tier list. Socks are $40. We're at the end of our tier list. One of these needs to be chosen and put into S+. I would love to choose Scrivener as an S+ writing tool, but part of me also wants to say Google Docs, which is just not a sexy answer because everyone's already using it, always free. It's already free. Obsidian is absolutely an S tier tool. It definitely doesn't deserve to be an S+, but I'm choosing between these three. There's no way anything down here ends up an S+. That would be crazy. The sad thing is, it just makes sense to me to say that you should start writing in Google Docs. But at some point, you got to spread your wings. And what better way to do that than to find a tool like Scrivener, pay $60, have it for life, free form planning, compiles directly into your final result, EPUB or print. Format it however you like. There's a little bit of a learning curve. That's a knock against it. It's not the perfect writing tool, but God, is it good. It is good. I think that is totally fair to say S+ tier Scrivener. And look, I would love for a new tool to come along and knock Scrivener off the top, because that would be good for everyone. Competition's good. There is one tool coming up. I backed on Kickstarter called Emberwrite, which may do it one day if I'm thinking lofty thoughts, right? To me, it looks like it is basically a browser-based Scrivener that's going to have, I think, some collaboration features. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll let you know. Don't dive into this and pay money for it until you hear some reviews. I took a chance on it because I'll make a video about it in the future, but I'm going to give this one a try. Zinder says, it's what you get versus what you pay. Scrivener is it. Scrivener is it. I also have another really fun writing tool video that hopefully can come out in the next month or two. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. And I think you're going to laugh, but I think you'll like it too. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. What do you think? Am I off my rocker? Am I off my rocker with any of these? I know I saw the chat going about Atticus. I saw that. You know why I put it down there. This is me officially calling to Kindlepreneur and Dave Chesson. Just disclose that you own Atticus on that article. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Also, if you could put a demo or a free trial, not a money back guarantee for Atticus, that'd be sick. That'd be sick. All right. I hope you found a tool that you thought looked quite interesting, a tool that you thought was exciting enough to try, or learned about something that exists that maybe you'll give a shot. Dora says, I'm mad at you for Atticus. I'm mad at Dave Chesson. All right. That's all I got for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I had a great time. This was just a more fun hangout kind of thing. It wasn't putting on a timer and writing as much as I love those live streams. Thanks for joining. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And don't be mad at me. Goodbye, everyone. Take care. Take care. Goodbye. See you later.